A very warm good morning. Be the change you want to see in the world. I just want to tweet this most celebrated statement by Mahatma Gandhi by saying, "Be the change you want to see in the system." A very warm welcome day to the NET conference on shaping the future of nurses practitioner program in India. The way forward. Today we are at session 4, the panel discussion on promulgation of nurse practitioner course to integrate and strengthen the healthcare system of India. It's my proud privilege to introduce eminent nursing leader Dr. Professor Ennis George, who has experience in nursing more than the age of many participants are there. It's more than 37 years. 34 years, I'm sorry. She completed her master's in nursing when I was just 3 years old. She has decorated her nursing career with more than 100 publications. I just want to come up with her slide. Yeah. Yes. So she has decorated her nursing career with more than 100 publications and 6 students completed PhD under her. I welcome you, ma'am, and thanks for accepting our invitation to be the chairperson of this panel discussion where we are going to talk about filling the gap and strengthening the Indian healthcare system with this nurse practitioner course. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you very much and welcome to all on second day of this international conference. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Rupa, for the kind introduction. You have rightly told that, most of the participants were not born by the time when I had finished my nursing, BSc nursing program. So I'm very happy to be part of this international e-conference. Dr. Reddy Balachandran, chairperson of this e-conference, all the organizers, speakers and participants, a very pleasant morning and greetings to you all from the Manipal College of Nursing, Manipal of Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Thank you, Ms. Rupa, once again for the kind introduction. Thanks to the organizers for asking me to chair this scientific session on promulgation of nurse practitioner course to integrate and strengthen healthcare system in India. The launching of NPCC program by the Indian Nursing Council was an important milestone in the history of nursing in our country. This advanced higher education program is extremely important to prepare ourselves to provide advanced independent care to our clients. Implementing the program in a quality way is the responsibility of the nursing education institutions. Promulgating this program for integrating and strengthening our healthcare system with views on licensing the practice and protecting the practitioners is an important step we need to take. For this, the nurse practitioner graduates must demonstrate their competency and confidence for safe practice. Creating cadre for nurse practitioners in our healthcare system, policy decisions on the number of NPCCs to be appointed based on ICU bed strength, both in public and private sector hospitals, starting the NPCC programs in public sector, clear role clarifications and job expectations are required for the sustainability of this program in our country. One of the areas where the takers have the tension is what will be the placement opportunities. Unless they are given a clarity on the placement which they will receive and the value for the program which they do, I fear like what happened to the post-basic diploma nursing programs in the country. So I am hoping and wishing that we will have the strong foundation with the legal protection and licensing for the practitioners, which will give motivation for the youngsters to take up this program. I'm sure the Indian Nursing Council and the Nursing Division of Government of India will take care of these. With these few thoughts expressed, now I would like to introduce the moderator and speakers for this session. Ms. Rupa, can you share the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
The moderator for the session is Professor Dr. Ratna Prakash. The slide doesn't tell anything much about her. Ms. Rupa said strict instruction from Dr. Ratna that not to talk much about her. But I cannot chair the session without talking a little bit about Dr. Ratna. I hope you will excuse me for the introduction that I will be giving. I know Dr. Ratna did her BSc Nursing and MSc Nursing from College of Nursing, Christian Medical College and Hospital, Vellore, and she has specialized in medical surgical nursing. She received her doctorate in nursing from the Manipal Academy of Higher Education in the area of education, which is her passion. A bubbling nurse educator, loved by all her students and remembered by all her students and colleagues. An innovative thinker, a person with plenty of innovative ideas, a large number of publications in indexed national and international journals, speaker in a number of national and international conferences. And most of all, what I know of her is a very fine and humane nurse and a person, the best person to moderate this session. I welcome you to this session, Dr. Ratna Prakash.
Thank you.
The next slide. Dr. Bindumol VC, an associate professor with LLM and PhD in the Government Law College, Ernakulam. She did her LLM from the University of Kerala and doctorate also from University of Kerala in the year 2008. She did her PGIMER at Bangalore in 2018 and has cleared UGC NET. 21 years of teaching experience in her field. She has published one book on medical law, the second edition in 2021, 21 article publications in journals, and she had been an invited speaker to deliver 42 lectures approximately. She has organized and attended many international and national conferences. I welcome you, Dr. Bindu, to this session 4 of the panel.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Mr. Baswa Patil. I saw a message that he'll be joining 15 minutes later, but I will introduce him to the participants of this e-conference. Mr. Baswa Patil is a registered nurse with the NHS Trust of UK. He completed his BSc Nursing from Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences at Bangalore in the year 2007. She has also a Canadian International Career College certificate in the intensive care unit. Professional experience, 14 years of experience in the clinical, supervisory, administration and operational areas at diverse positions in 6 states and 3 countries. Highlights on his career is a co-author for Physical Assessment for Nurses Handbook, Vice President of Clinical Operations of a home healthcare service provider, consultant for development of home care management system, an advocate for community health officers 2012 to 13, and minimum wages for nurses in Karnataka, the work he had contributed to the development. His honors, he sponsored the National Essay Competition for Nurses and the Vice President of Student Nurses Association during his study period, and he is a blogger and a poet by his passion. I welcome Mr. Baswa Patil to this panel in his absence. Next slide, Rupa. Next slide. Mrs. Rachel George, she is the Registrar of Maharashtra Nursing Council, and her professional qualification, Masters in Nursing from Nashik, BSc Nursing from Pune, and Bachelor's of Law from Mumbai, which I think is an essential qualification which she has taken before taking up a responsibility of a registrar position for a nursing council. A professional experience of 17 years in clinical teaching and administration. She is associated with World Health Organization as an assessor for health science universities globally and a developmental officer for nursing for Southeast Asia, advisor to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, New Delhi for capacity building in nursing, assessor for Health Secretariat, Indonesia, advisor to the state government of Maharashtra related to nurses, and advisor to the MSBNP and Fees Regulatory Authority. Her achievement, she is a member to the selection committee of the prestigious Florence Nightingale Award, and she has enabled successful amendments to the statutes for the nurses in Maharashtra state. I welcome you, Ms. Rachel George, to this session. I think she also will be joining us shortly. The next slide. I have Mr. Abhishek Bondia, the co-founder, Secure Now Insurance Broker Private Limited. A lot of wonderful experience Mr. Abhishek has got. He has completed MBA in Management Development Institute, Gurgaon, and rank holder for the Chartered Accountant program. And he's a Chartered Financial Analyst, and he did his bachelor's from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi. 15 plus years of experience in his field. He's the co-founder of Secure Now Insurance Broker. Secure Now serves more than 10,000 doctors and 300 hospitals to buy and service professional indemnity insurance. Worked with McKinsey and Company in their insurance practice. He served clients on product design, organizational design, and business improvement projects. Abhishek writes a weekly Q&A column on insurance for Mint and a monthly column for Money Control. His interviews have been featured in several personal finance TV shows, including CNN News 18 and CNBC Awards. He occasionally takes guest lectures on finance and entrepreneurship at his alma mater, Management Development Institute. His achievements and honor. Secure Now has been shortlisted thrice for Broker of the Year in Asia.
Yeah, that's a common problem with the virtual platform.
Award
Yeah.
by across the right review associations across the medical practice, nurse practitioners in the independent practice. I welcome you on behalf of the conference organizers, Mr. Abhishek. The next person. The last person to introduce, but I don't think she needs any introduction because all the nurses in the country knows you, Mrs. Evelyn Kannan, the Secretary General of Trained Nurses Association of India. Whenever recently I have not visited, whenever I go to TNA office, I feel that they are the brothers, sisters, and parents of the nurses of the country. So you hold a very significant position in the country as our immediate relative in the profession of nursing, Mrs. Kannan. Her professional qualification, she is an obstetrics and gynecology nurse with masters and a professional experience of 3 years as staff nurse, 16 years in teaching, and 17 long years in TNAI. She has participated in international training at Sweden in 2018 and 2008 and 9 on strengthening midwifery competence in sexual and reproductive health and services in Stockholm, presented a paper in China on this matter. Advocates for upskilling of the nurses of India through application of evidence-based policies and practices and liaison with government leaders as well as national and international nursing organizations. Ms. Kannan is responsible for strategic and operational planning of various projects, and she is also the chief editor for the Nursing Journal of India and the TNAI Bulletin. Her achievements and honor: board member of Commonwealth Nurses and Midwives Federation, Asia Region, Christian Medical Association of India, and Emmanuel Hospital Association and Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India. She has organized and attended a number of national and international conferences and TNAI meetings. I welcome you wholeheartedly, Mrs. Evelyn Kannan, to this program.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words.
Now, I request Dr. Ratna Prakash, the moderator of the session, to take over and proceed with the session.
Thank you, Dr. Alice, for introducing me, and it was that much was most enough. We all actually to be in this forum, what all things you do, I felt that much story and history was not necessary. Thank you very much. First of all, I begin my this moderation job by doing pranam to Professor Uma Handa. Madam, I hope you are there listening to this particular session. I hope, please, I need your blessings to be able to do justice to the responsibility given to me. Dr. Rati, I was so elated to get an email from you. You are in this position, and to get an email from you really had made my day. Thank you so much for inviting me to this forum. I am most thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be with all of you, and you all are excellent professionals with an objective to give value to NPCC program in India. Thank you very much. So I begin this moderation session. Dr. Bindumal BC, legal aspect of NP course challenges and solutions. And you are a lawyer by profession and expecting to learn so many things from you. All the speakers, all the panelists get 5 to 7 minutes in the first round, and also in the second round also. You'll be given 5 to 7 minutes. And I know you all have so much to speak, but then, and since we all are waiting to learn from you, from all of you, that's why the time restriction is there. Over to Dr. Bindu, please.
Good morning. Respected Chair, other dignitaries. Dr. Bindu, may I request you to switch on your video, please? Yeah, I can't, Rupa. I can't. It's okay. It's okay. First of all, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, let me thank Dr. Reddy Balachandran, ADG Nursing, for giving me this opportunity. The topic that is assigned to me is legal aspects of nursing practitioner course. What are the challenges and solutions? Here, this course is introduced into the health system to ensure accessibility to health service and for realization of right to health. Under our system, Indian Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And by way of court decisions, Paramanta Katara versus Union of India, Pachim Banga Kit Mastu Samadhi versus State of West Bengal, Consumer Education Research Center versus Union of India. Right to health is a part of Article 21 of the Constitution. And right to highest attainable standard of health that is provided in Article 12 of the Covenant, that is General Covenant of 14 of the UN Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, in which it enumerates 4 sets of principles, that is availability, accessibility, acceptability and quality. And acceptability has 4 overlapping dimensions, that is non-discrimination, physical accessibility, economic accessibility, that is affordability, and information accessibility. And it imposes, once it is recognized as a fundamental right under our constitution, it imposes 3 types of obligation on state parties, that is obligation to respect, protect and fulfill. If there is violation of fundamental right, state must provide compensation. And therefore, then whether how the nursing profession is legally regulated in India. Under the seventh schedule of the Constitution, there are three lists, and public health, sanitation, hospital, and dispensary, that comes under item 6 of list 2, that is state list, whereas legal, medical, and other professions comes under item 26 of list 3. That means concurrent list. That means both parliament and state legislature can legislate. And then the question is whether nursing can be considered as a profession. Here, the ILO Nursing Personnel Recommendation 1977 recognized nursing as a profession. And according to Rupert Jackson and John L. Powell, there are 4 characteristics for a profession. The occupations which are regarded as profession have 4 characteristics. First one is skilled work. Nature of the work is skilled. And second one is commitment to moral principles. And the third point is professional association. That is, that regulates the profession and also higher status in the community. And we have to examine whether nursing can be considered as a profession in India. National Health Policy 2017 had recognized nursing as a profession. ILO 2012, nursing professional has to work autonomously. And here, if they want to work autonomously, how it is to be regulated? The existing law is Nursing Practitioner Act. It is to be replaced by this bill of 2020. And here, what are the requirements? That is, at present, there is no statutory regulation relating to nurse practitioner. And there is no definition of nurse practitioner also. Under the courses that is in critical care medicine and nursing and also in midwifery, there is no definition of nurse practitioner. In the Act 2020, there is a nursing practitioner is included in the nurse category of nurse professional. And if we need statutory regulation, what are the requirements that is needed? Just like other profession, there is a need for a nursing practitioner register, and it will be available for public scrutiny. Then the license to practice, that is to be given by State Nursing Council, and this will be available for public scrutiny, and it should be constantly updated also. Then the professional misconduct, that has to be dealt with a disciplinary committee, and adequate sanction must be imposed. And the continuing nursing education program, that is to be implemented. And the aspect is fitness to practice, that is to be judged by peer group. And if independent or collaborative practice, if it is required, then nurse clinics are to be defined. That is, whether they have to work independently, that is to be specified. Their scope of practice is to be defined. Then nursing association, that is a voluntary self-regulatory body, that is to be registered, and nurse leaders are to be consulted prior to framing and amending this regulation. Then another issue is Indian citizens having foreign qualification, whether they can practice as nurse practitioners in India. Then here, to protect the interest of the public, system must ensure that only qualified persons are practicing the profession. And regulation must also address interprofessional responsibility. Then what is the role of the Nurse Practitioner Association? They have to lobby for their rights. Indian nurses are not lobbying for their rights. The Canadian nurse practitioners, they have gained political strength by creating a Canadian Nurse Practitioner Initiative that promotes the nurse practitioner role in primary healthcare. Nurse leaders, we know that this is a women-centered profession, and therefore the way the women are treated in the society, that is a reflection. This is also a reflection of how women are treated, nurses are treated in our society, in a patriarchal society. And therefore, how this leadership quality is to be inculcated among there are several barriers like that of socio-cultural norms, structural barriers, family work-life balance, discrimination and sexual harassment, lack of self-confidence, and therefore there will be leadership quality is to be inculcated among the nursing professionals. Then what about interprofessional responsibility? The nurses, they carry out doctor's orders. Here, the nurse practitioner, the physician relationship, that's to be characterized by collaboration, in which there will be certain elements are needed, certain like that of the cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility and accountability, autonomy, communication, coordination. Most important is mutual trust and respect. Here, what are the challenges? These are the challenges that is identified by me. That is, there is no definition of nurse practitioner. Then articulate a common title. Then educate both the public and the healthcare professionals about nurse practitioners, and also accommodate India's diversity and establish the foundation for collaborative practice. Then have a thorough discussion about the competencies and the need for various streams of practice. Then my suggestion is to have just like the Canadian Nurse Practitioner Initiative, there must be a nurse practitioner planning network. That is the way in which the task force are to be created with respect to legislation and regulation, with respect to practice, with respect to education, with respect to communication, with respect to health human resource planning, that is relating to standardization of remuneration, how to utilize those nurse practitioners, how to ensure them healthy workplace environment. This is this consultation is the need of the hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bindumal. So clear it is now where actually nursing stands in India. Now, I'd like to know, because before I invite Mrs. Evelyn, INC Indian Nursing Council has given nursing the credibility. Today's nursing, what we are, it is because of Indian Nursing Council, which has been recognized all over for this many years. Only thing, as you have very rightly brought out the point that the concreteness of the identity of nursing has to be relooked at. That concreteness will come by defining very specifically the roles, responsibilities, etc., educating public and lobbying. And your suggestions for NPCC program planning by a prior need assessment by a task force, etc., is really valid. And that is showing us the direction which way we should go to improve this program. Now, Mrs. Evelyn P. Kannan, may I invite you to this forum to give your opinion or what you think about what Dr. Bindumal has told, specifically on this redefining the nursing in India. Please, Mrs. Evelyn, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good afternoon. I take this opportunity to thank the organizer as well as the chairperson of the session, Dr. Anis George, as well as the moderator, Dr. Ratna Prakash, and special thanks to Dr. Rati Balachandran, who invited to be part of it. And kindly give the permission to share the slideshow, please. So kindly bear with me for a minute. Yeah. So once again, a very warm welcome to the Trained Nurses Association of India, which have been established since 1908. Today, I will be sharing with you all about the TNA's role in advocating nurse practitioner in India. So as we all know, because the professional association is the base for the entire nursing education system in India. So I'd like to brief little bit, few seconds about the TNAI. So it was started in 1905 at Lucknow. 9 British pioneers from different parts of India established the Nursing Student Association. In 1908, it's become a Trained Nurses Association of India. So what was the TNA role in advocating nurse practitioner in India then? Because without the basement, we cannot come talk about the nurse practitioner in India. So what the TNA has been doing for all these years of the 113 years. So establish a system of formal education. So we do not have a proper system of formal education in India since later part of 1920s. Instrumental in establishing the state and national nursing council. Dr. Bindu very much explained the importance of the professional organization in establishing the proper system of formal education. They have formed an education committee in 1933, and again they formed a nurses chart in 1937, and since 1910 onwards, publishing the Nursing Journal of India. This is the only medium of communication to the entire nurses in India in those days. And TNA also affiliated with the collaboration with various national and international organizations. So these are the pictures since 1910. Now we are publishing a lot of research articles. And as I said before, instrumental in establishing the system of formal education. Since 1920 to 1914, they only could be able to establish the A&M nursing educations and lady health visitors course and GNM and post-certificate courses. These are the result of the education committee as well as the nurses charter. Then they realized that the importance of establishing the college degree program. In 1946, we will be able to establish the 2 universities, that means creating the BSc nursing, that's baccalaureate program. The result of this, the 2 universities started this. One is in CMC Vellore in 1946, otherwise in Rajkumar Ambedkar College of Nursing for the North India. These are the 2 colleges or pioneer colleges initiated for the South and North for us to get the program. Later part of 1959, we initiated that we need a lot of post-basic certificate courses as well as a post-basic BSc nursing to carry a pathway to upgrade themselves to become a BSc nurses as well as a master in nursing 1959 onwards. I think again in RIT College of Nursing initiated this MSc program in 1959. See, later part of 1980, MPhil program as well as we would be able to instrumentally establish the PhD nursing in program. Later part of 2000, now currently we keep talking about the independent nurse practitioner. So TNA provide the various forums to talk about all the issues about the independent nurse practitioner. Again, the TNA take a pride in saying that instrumental in establishing the state nursing council, video registration nursing council. If you see the 1910 journal onwards, you will see that question paper announced in the journal. Results were announced in the journal. Appointments were given, everything was in the journal. Because as the TNA is a non-governmental, non-sectoral, non-political organization, TNA is instrumental in bringing the constitution of the State Nursing Council in 1926, in first council in Chennai in Tamil Nadu, and Indian Nursing Council in 1947. Made efforts for appointment of full-time nurse registered in the council as well as the representative nurse members in majority on these bodies to direct the affairs of the council. And affiliated to various national international organizations since then. And now what the TNA has been doing, participating in policy making, formulating operational guidelines with Government of India, involving strategic planning with government, upskilling continuous professional developments, collaboration and affiliation with the national and international organizations, communication, advocating through Nursing Journal of India, conferences, and organizing national and international conferences as well as a workshop. Establish the International Training Center for upskilling. Establish a research cell to evidence-based nursing practice. Advocacy for autonomy, role clarity, cadre structuring, career pathways, legal framework, strong legislation, address on barriers and challenges, and scope of the practice and promotion of the scope of nurse practitioner. This is the established Central Institute of Nursing and Research Center, TNI, is established in 2012. It was inaugurated by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. These are the facilities provided for the nurses. And what are the things TNI has been planned? creation of awareness among the nurses and the public regarding nurse practitioner. This is very important to do that. And advocacy with the government on importance of nurse practitioner, supporting policy changes to ensure a desirable career pathway for the nurse practitioner and nurse practice educators. Advocating to act and be act in the NNMC bill is one of the major responsibility of the Trained Nurses Association of India. Undertaking more evidence-based research on NP, establishing high-fidelity simulation lab for advanced nursing practice. Who is responsible? This question we all need to take ourselves. I am responsible as an individual, as a nurse midwife, and you are responsible, and we all together. As the Dr. Bindu very well said that, and we all aware of also the same thing, because the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, as well as the Indian Nursing Council, the regulatory state and regulatory bodies, as well as the professional association, we all could come together and achieve together. Definitely we all are responsible in a greater way. And how we can achieve that? We need to have a head full of knowledge about various aspects. And what are the things? Because sometimes we have a head full of knowledge is required. This conference has really eye-opener for each one of us to what is the importance of nurse practitioner and heart attitude. And because I should say, who will do it? I can do it. I need to be participating. You need to be participating. You all can come together. That kind of attitude. He can say, oh God, when will it happen? How will it happen? No, it will happen one day. It will happen today or tomorrow. Let us have that kind of attitude. And now the knowledge and attitude will not help us out. And we need to have a skill, that is even the nurse practitioner, that is very much required. So you and me have to work hard on this, how to put it in practice, what we are learning. What can do? Let us wake up. Do not give up. Keep pressing on. Do this again and again until we achieve. Hum honge kamyab ek din. So this is my responsibility, your responsibility, as a professional association responsibility, regulatory body's responsibility, as well as the Minister of Health responsibility, and every individual nurse midwife responsibility. Let us feel that proud to be a nurse. I am. So let us all come together, work together, and meet together. Definitely, we will implement the nurse practitioner in India soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Evelyn. Very spirited young leader for us. Now, so nice to hear you.
Thank you, ma'am. Nice to see you here. Yeah.
And also, you are in a very right position because TNI actually gives voice to nurses. So you are the perfect leader to lead us for redefining the role of nursing in Indian healthcare delivery system, society, and everywhere.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. And I really like that. I, you, and we. Together we can reach the sky of our achievement. Excellent. And your presentation really has strengthened the question or the issue what has arisen from Dr. Bindumal. That is, the need for the day is to redefining our role everywhere. Thank you so much. Again, I would like to hear you in the next.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity, ma'am. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Abhishek Bondia, are you there? Hello, Mr. Abhishek? Yes. Now again, you are not a nurse, but then it's so nice to have you among us, so that another aspect, another dimension of nursing will be dealt by you, and it's so nice that I am having an opportunity to introduce you to this forum, so that because what Dr. Bindumal and Dr. and Mrs. Evelyn have brought out, redefining nursing role and responsibilities in India, and I think you will be able to bring some light to these particular issues. We are not familiar, please waiting to hear you so that we are more clear about which direction we should go about in redefining it. I mean, we need to have a concrete definition, concrete job description, concrete status, concrete position for ourselves. Please, over to you.
Mr. Abhishek, we couldn't hear you properly. Uh, no, not. Can you stop your video for a while if it is a bandwidth problem? It was quite clear and loud in the beginning, but now it is wavery. Yeah. Can you speak now, sir? Still there. Anybody else can let me know? Ratna ma'am, can you hear him properly?
Yes, yes. No, no, not very properly.
Yeah.
Voice is breaking.
Yeah.
Can you, sir, can you join from another audio device? Are you
Yeah, I just changed my audio device if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for this. I just changed my audio device. I was saying, I was expressing my thanks to Dr. Ratna ma'am. So the objective of, my talk is more to highlight the importance of professional indemnity insurance, right, for the profession. Some of the panelists before me did speak about how the nurses as a profession have to be strengthened. The capabilities have to be strengthened so that we can effectively serve our clients better. I think that is the word, those are the words that Dr. Anis ma'am used. And there was also a thing about how we make the profession secure so that we attract, right? How do we make the profession attractive for young people to join the cadre and serve the society at large much better? So in this context, I wanted to share where does professional indemnity insurance come in, right? Why is professional indemnity insurance important? Number one. Number two, what does it cover? And number three, how do you procure it? What is the best way of procuring a professional indemnity insurance? So these are the three elements I wanted to cover at a high level in my first part of the talk. First one, why do we require it? As we think about having an independent existence as a professional, even as we think of ourselves as a support staff, right? Helping the doctors and the hospitals discharging our duties. It is important to understand that our clients, which is the patients, have increasingly become aware of what their rights are. They have also become much more assertive about their rights and demands from their provisionals, right, on a certain quality of service, a certain quality of care and treatment, right? This right of the patients is now well accepted by courts, right? I can walk you through some examples, but there have been numerous instances where courts have taken a very favorable view towards the consumer and decided against the medical professional. The medical professional in question could be the doctor, could be the nurse, or the hospital at large. The courts have repetitively taken a view that the medical treatment, advice, consultation, discharge by a medical professional, any of these, falls well within a Consumer Protection Act. It is a consumer service, irrespective of whether it is given by charging a fee or free of cost. So even if the service is given in a government hospital, courts have decided that it falls within Consumer Protection Act, and there have been multiple instances where they have decided against the medical professional involved, including the nurses. So given this context that we live in, right, where our clients are being more assertive and courts are taking a favorable view towards the client, it is important for nurses to protect themselves. How can you protect yourself? You can buy a professional indemnity insurance, which essentially covers two things. In case somebody sues you in a court of law, which could be a consumer court, a civil court, any forum, then the lawyer cost that you have to pay to defend yourself, right? The first cost that you have to pay as an individual is to hire a lawyer, right? Whether you are guilty or not, whether a compensation is to be awarded against you or not is secondary. First thing is that money starts going out of your pocket towards appointing a lawyer. That gets covered under professional indemnity insurance. Number two, in case the courts decide against you, in case the courts say that a compensation needs to be awarded to the patient, then that compensation also gets covered by the policy. So both the coverage are equally important. The cost of the lawyer fee as well as the cost of compensation awarded by the court. Now, your negligence could be established for a variety of things. It could be for breach of duty. It could be negligence. It could be a simple omission. Maybe there was a protocol which you are supposed to know, but you were not aware of, which you do not follow, which ultimately caused injury to the patient, right? So your negligence and omission would lead devastating circumstances for the patient who can go to court and claim compensation. Of course, the policy does not pay for any deliberate act, does not pay for any criminal activity or a fraudulent activity, right? But where you have acted in a bona fide way, but it could be negligence. It could be negligence where you have given up confidentiality of the patient. You have by mistake leaked some records. All those circumstances get covered under professional indemnity insurance. Now, third part, how do you buy one? What is the best way to think about this? Now, I can tell you from our experience of working with more than 10,000 doctors in the country and more than 300 hospitals, that buying insurance comes pretty low in the priority radar of a medical professional. The understanding of the product comes even lower, right? Because as a medical professional, you are much more interested and much more inclined towards understanding the nuances of treatment rather than understanding the nuances of the policy. So what we have seen work very well is if the association comes up, right? For example, today we work with more than 25 medical associations across the country. What we have seen is when the association steps up and says that we would take the responsibility of providing professional indemnity insurance for our members. Now, this could be done in two ways. Either the association buys on behalf of everyone and maybe collects as a membership fee, a part of membership fee from the members, or it puts together a program which is optional for each individual. What happens then is that the individual at least knows that the association has done a check. The association has done diligence on whether this product makes sense for me or not. That helps the individual to decide much faster and better that a product like this could be bought, right? So just to summarize, as you think about growing the profession further, it is important to know that you have legal liability, right, which is being upheld by court repetitively. Number two, you have recourse by virtue of a professional indemnity insurance to protect yourself. And number three, the best way to have the solution in place is via the association. Dr. Ratna, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek, for really highlighting and bringing to notice so many things about insurance, health insurance. But I have one question. See, hospital policies regarding nursing is almost non-existent. Government and private both organizations, hospitals provide the legal protection to nurses. In my experience, many instances I have seen that. But please tell me because I really don't know. Before we go for this insurance matter, do you have to strengthen or do you have to say that all the hospitals should have policies about nursing functions? Because the accountability, responsibility, all these things are policy matters. Isn't it so? Is insurance matters whether we can have insurance or not? Does it depend on the hospital policy?
Okay, ma'am, that's an excellent question. Let me answer that in three parts. Number one, today hospitals, all hospitals buy professional indemnity insurance for themselves. That policy covers them. Okay. What will happen is, if a patient feels aggrieved, they will go and sue the hospital for an act committed by a doctor or a nurse. If they sue the hospital policy would kick in and it will protect the hospital. If the patient sues the doctor personally, then the hospital's policy does not kick in. That's why all doctors buy professional indemnity insurance of their own. Similarly, if the individual, the patient decides to sue the nurse, then neither the hospital nor the doctor's policy will kick in. Right? So, just like the doctor protects themselves by buying a separate professional indemnity insurance in their own capacity, independent of the hospital policy, a nurse also has to protect himself or herself by buying a separate professional indemnity insurance. Number one. Number two, your point is about what is the rules of the hospital. Right? The rules of the hospital is independent of what you do as an individual. Today, nurses are bound by a code of ethics. The code of ethics is well laid out. Nurses are bound by professional code of conduct, which is well laid out. So they are liable. I can cite instances to you where courts have held nurses specifically accountable. So given that situation where nurses are personally accountable, right, it is well within their right to protect themselves. And number three, there have been situations where the hospital has taken action against the nurse for professional negligence. So it is not just the patients who can sue you. Sometimes the hospital can also sue you. Right? There are situations where the courts also take a view that hospital appointed an unqualified nurse. Right? So if you buy a professional indemnity insurance, you are not breaching any rights of the hospital. You are not breaching any rights of the doctor. So you are well within your right to protect yourself. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes, sure. Thank you. This is real information to me that our professional code of ethics is accepted by court of law.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's very nice. So please, may I ask you another question which is related to this? You have mentioned about the association. There are so many nurses associations out there. At the private level, so many of them I know. CNI or Trained Nurses Association is a very strong association, and that is registered also. So if this, as you have suggested that, if the TNI actually brings a very strong policy that all TNI members have to have insurance, maybe that will bring a change in our accountability, responsibility, and the way even public looks at nursing profession. What do you say about it?
Ma'am, I would very much welcome an action like this. Let me take a slightly broader view. Today, the insurance penetration in the country is 1/5 of the world average, right? And the reason for this is that the average or the layman tries to defer insurance, right? Tries to think that nothing will happen to me. It may happen to somebody else. COVID may happen to my neighbor, but it will not happen to me. Huh? That feeling is pretty widespread. What happens is if there's a policy decision, which may not be even prescriptive, Dr. Ratna ma'am, there are different tiers of an advisory. One is a mandatory kind of a provision that for example, as insurance broker, we are asked by the regulator to mandatorily buy insurance for professional indemnity. But then there could be an advisory too, where the association recommends that professionals should buy indemnity insurance, right? So today, the awareness that nurses should buy is very low, right? I think the suggestion that you laid out, Dr. Ratna ma'am, I think it is a need of the hour, so that the kind of awareness that we have in the doctor community, similar kind of awareness should be there in the nurses community.
Yes, thank you very much. And this, what I feel personally, that insurance, if we buy insurance, also that makes me accountable for what I am doing. And I feel that this is one of these issues which is actually our public image of nursing is it's quite low till today after so many years of independence of India. But I think this insurance is one such instrument which will make us accountable. Accountability makes me more competent. My competency, when it is visible to public, automatically the status improves.
Absolutely.
I think this is one very important instrument to bring up our status in the society. Thank you so much for enlightening us on this. We'll meet in the next round.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you very much. So next, Mr. Basava, Mrs. Basava Patil. Mr. Basava Patil is here? Yes, you are already there. Oh, nice to see you. Thank you. So you are going to tell us reflection on proposed NP program to strengthen healthcare system in India. Please, over to you.
Thank you, Ratna Prakash ji. So warm good morning from UK. So it's a nice cold weather here. So hope you are having a good afternoon there. First of all, I would like to greet all the people who made this possible, which is what to say, Government of India is making this possible, this conference possible, and CNRS and DY Patil University, and also ECHO and the other organization, which I'm not able to read out the name. I apologize for that. Anyway, so these all people have come together and to looking at the shaping the future of nurse practitioner program in India, the way forward. So that's the interesting topic, and thanks for giving us the opportunity. While beginning my opening remarks, I would like to pray and mourn, and also what to say, the immense contributions of the nurses for this in this pandemic, and the people who lost life while caring other people. So God bless them, and they have really worked hard to keep India in check and health check. So still we have lost many lives, nursing lives. So I feel painful, and also I send heartfelt condolences to their families and for our beloved nurses. And then next part, I would like to congratulate 2020 for especially nursing in India. There are a lot of things happening in right direction for right reasons. So we have ruled out the phasing out JNM, which is a big thing. To care 1.3 billion people, we need a lot of nurses. So that's the idea. So government supported that, not to phase out the JNM. And then the NNMC bill brought out by again DGHS and ADG under the leadership of Rati Balachandran, and also other what to say, and now which is talking about nurse practitioner. So there's a lot happening, which is also cumulative work of the 100 years, and now we are marching ahead, and we are equipping better ourselves to care 1.3 billion plus people in the world, and second largest population in the world. So to do so, before going to my nursing practitioner way forward, I would like to ask myself and reflect few questions, which I have been chronicling in my blog since almost 8 years, 8+ years. So these are the questions I asked myself when I started thinking about nursing and their significant contribution towards the healthcare system in India. So first question I ask, what is the image of nurse in India? How is it? Is it very independent, very enthusiastic, significant participant of the care, decision maker? No, these are not the image of the, at least in the public domain. It's not the image of the nurse in India. So, but are we fitting this fight? Are we not doing much? Yes, we are doing much, but there's a lot collective effort has to be done. And there's a lot of government will is required. The intent is required, and investment is required, and also public appreciation and support is required. So in this image, so which always we have been taught about being dependent on other healthcare team and being looked down, and also we have been recognized the robotic. So they are doing they are assistants of the doctors. They are doing there is no independence perspective in. And also you look at the decision making of the whole nursing community or the healthcare decision making, not the nursing committee, healthcare decision making. It's very vertical. It's a top down approach. There is no horizontal integration. There is no nurses participation in decision making of healthcare system, not particular to the nurses. Then I blogged about how to care 1.3 billion people. So in this we are doing it. Around now we have 20 lakhs registered nurses as per the government report, and then we have 5 lakh registered nurses who are organized, like associated with the professional body like Trained Nurses Association of India. So there is some amount of organizing people is there. And also, in 2011, while I was the principal of School of Nursing, I used to tell my students that you A&M is going to be a last or frontline worker, and you need to embrace the technology. When I said that, what technology? I said mobile is going to connect you to the world. So today, now community health officers, many A&Ms are using the mobile, and they are integrating the health information to the main what to say repository, or the direct reporting to the health and family welfare department. And this technology is also very boon for us now. In this, especially mobile technology, telecommunication advancements have made nurses more informed and more making us more independent and making us to be part of it. So which is the good thing, and I really appreciate that. Then in the how to care for 1.3 billion people, we need to have the knowledge base, or most of the time we use or practice the traditional knowledge or wisdom in nursing. But we need to move forward for the evidence-based practice, where we can utilize the new learnings, and which are the evidence-based, so which would help. And again, technology is going to be a boon for nurses, and which will equip the nurses to care the 1.3 billion people. Then the third question I ask myself, so how nurses can reduce the burden of caring people, caring sick people? Would in terms of burden, in terms of the cost involvement, resource involvement by the public sector. So then I happen to work in various sectors, don't realize that nurses can do a lot than what they are doing now. Government is not expecting nurses to do a lot because they are just saying the expectation, the mere expectation is that they are going to assist the doctors, where in case of where it is not true. In fact, is the nurses can do more because of their the knowledge, skills, and their experiences. Then yeah, then I found out that chronic hospitalization making us ill. So to avoid that, nurses has to be equipped with the education knowledge, like you can say nurse practitioners or advanced nursing practice, or whichever way the name you call it, but the only the knowledge base has to improve. Then I asked this, these asked questions because I migrated from India to UK. So earlier I lived in Canada. So why I am migrating to different places? I asked myself why I am moving. Then I recently wrote an article. So why do nurses migrate? Where I found there's a lot of the intrinsic factors than the extrinsic. So intrinsic factors, basically dignity of the labor. I'm not right away saying that there is no dignity of labor in India. So of course there is the dignity of labor. That there's people are respected, revered, and appreciated. Whereas it is not the general standard of the, especially particular to concern to the nurses. Then the better perspective of life. Perspective of life. If you join nursing in India in a public sector, so if you join nursing, you can become a matron or nursing superintendent or a dean of the college. So beyond that, these are the structural roles which would happen 30 years, 40 years in their role. So, but you need an incremental change. Every year also, it's a good, big, great thing. This I did not find in India. So I cannot progress myself. Hence, I decided, though I graduated in 2007, I decided not to join the public sector because of its rigid structure of not not allowing the aspirants, young nurses, to go ahead in their career year by year, not by 10 years or 20 years. So at the end, everybody is dead. So I need not to wait for that. Then the quality of life, which is we have the different the world in India. So there is a very urban, classy, flashy, rich world, and there is very underprivileged, underserved, and poor class. So these two paradoxical situations always would be a internal fight. So what should I choose, the flashy world, or should I live the misery life? So in this, always it's a human interest to strive for the best, or maybe the quality of life. So then what is the progressiveness of the career, which I already mentioned. This was also reason for the nurses migrating. So the progressiveness. So we have all structural roles, no functional roles, no functional efficiency in the, at least in the public sector. In private, there are few new roles being created, functional roles like infection control nurse or the occupational health nurse. So these are the functional roles that have been created. So now the last fifth question. So I wanted to ask myself, is nurse practitioner is a way forward? So while thinking so, when I realized that we need a lot of nurses, we need the knowledge, huge knowledge base, and we have a technology, and we need we have a big scope or big area to work on. So then I felt in around when the nurse practitioner was declared, then I wrote an article again about two nurse practitioner courses. One was the critical care nurse and the nurse midwife. I have a lot of the positivity about nurse midwife, the practitioner course, how the curriculum is designed, and the kind of values integrated in that program. It talks about the autonomy. The critical care is to the extent, though it is a 63-page long the policy draft. So, but I was able to read out. But I could not convince myself about the critical care program because of this lack of values integration. And then, so what these nurse practitioner is why it is nurse practitioner is way forward. It is because of the accessibility. It can create the accessibility to the healthcare. Accessibility, how does it create accessibility to the healthcare? If there are more number of the nurse practitioners, then the people have chance to see them. Then their problems, the minor problems or the primary health level problems, can be solved at nearby area. And then the availability. So the availability, when you see if you want to have a doctor in village, or the qualified doctor, not the all the doctors, to have a professional regulated profession doctor in a village, it would cost them huge, because the education is very expensive. Whereas the nurse practitioner education is not so expensive. Not going to be so expensive. So this creates helps the public sector or the government or the community to have more number of nurse practitioners. And also there are a lot of people who were not, for certain reasons, who are not able to not able to do the medical science program, can opt for the nurse and start the independent practice. So that's the thing. And also this makes the affordability, when the cost involved in making it is less, of course we can make it affordable. So these reflections, these 5 questions I ask myself, same thing I'll share with you all those articles, so you can all you can all read it later. And also now my proposal for the panel is that, so what I would like to propose is the Nursing Practice Act, then the Healthcare Professional Regulation, and the Health Insurance Act, and Primary Healthcare Act, and EHR guideline, which is already there. So I'll briefly tell about what Nurse Practicing Act. If you create nurse practitioner course, you need an 3 E's. What is 3 E's? Enabling. How would you enable the nurses? You need to have a piece of legislation which can govern them, regulate them, and monitor them. Why they need to monitor, or why they need to regulate? To protect the public, to protect the country of these all things. So then the healthcare professional regulation, this is very much essential, because we are in chaotic situation of integrating different streams of science, healthcare sciences to care 1.3 billion people. To do so, we have integrated Ayush also, which is a non-part of clean, non-clean, non-allopathic or non-modern medicine. So how do you reconcile? I'm not saying that is a wrong thing, but Ayurveda principles or Ayush principles, their their value system, their belief system is different than the allopathic system. How do you reconcile? How do you reintegrate? Hence, Healthcare Professional Regulation Act. Who can do is that what nurse can do, what doctor can do, what physiotherapist can do, what they are accountable for. This law is very essential. This piece of law is very essential. So as far as nursing related, there is some amount of this scope is some amount of regarding this has been already discussed in NNMC. We have classified the nursing professional cadre. That's a great thing. So then the Health Insurance Act. In Health Insurance Act, so while I'll hearing to other panelists and other people, so the nurses, please do not confuse yourself with professional indemnity, group insurance, and health insurance. These are all 3 different things. What Abhishek spoke about professional indemnity, when as a human being, because of your human errors, if you commit mistake to the patient whom you are serving, if he sues you, how you are going to be protected? That's what about professional indemnity. But health insurance is the covering your health. If you fall sick yourself individually, how do you protect yourself for the uncertainties? That is health insurance. Group insurance is something, as a company, as an organization, you are doing something would say unfair or injustice, so which is to protect again. So that's but in health insurance sector in India, so we have private health insurance and the public health insurance, like the Arogyasri or Raju Arogyasri or something like that. So there are some exclusions in this health. So apologize for that, this is my son. So there are exclusions. We need to remove those exclusions. Health has to be given highest priority. It has to be protected at the any cost. It could be public cost or individual cost. Then the primary health care. My philosophy or my belief, I have conviction that primary health care can be completely delivered by nurses, created, conceptualized by nurses, and it can reach by provided by the nurses from 1948 Boer Committee to till 2020-21, which we were not able to achieve. We have so many class education qualifications from A&M to PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. How would we absolve them to deliver primary health care? So the primary health care health center should be the nurse. That's the vision I have towards the healthcare. And EHR, which government has done a lot, but nurses need to understand electronic health record. That's going to be a way forward. So these are my proposals for nurse practitioner in India way forward, to support and in the motion. And I address to the chair Anish George and the moderator Ratna Prakash. So please take this the points towards the public decision making to make this nurse practitioner possible. And I propose, I'm supporting this motion. And thanks for this opportunity. I think I was more than 7 minutes. If please forgive me that. So this is my humble submission to the today's audience. There are big audience, around 700 plus people are listening, and for the listening and participating in it. I thank all of them, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Vasoga. Actually, you are so passionate about what you are saying. And so I know that you are exceeding time, but I could not stop your flow. Because no, you have really, actually, you are at the, what to say, grassroots level. You have spoken for the grassroots level of nursing. And really, I appreciate your passion and your dream. And mostly, I like your 3 E's, what you have told. And your suggestions, definitely, hopefully the organizers will take note of that and will do their best to bring this NP to real highlighting to government the importance of NPs. Thank you very much. Now, Mrs. Rachel George, are you there? Hello? 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 Hello, Mrs. Rachel. Hello?
Ma'am, I'm also trying to find her out. Is she there? Miss Rachel?
In between also I
Yeah,
tried.
let me.
But please.
Pranchal, I can see Miss Rachel in the attendees list. If you can, admit her as a participant, panelist. Pranchal is there. Preeti,
Yes, ma'am.
can you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
She's in the participant list, I think.
Yes, ma'am. I've promoted panelist.
Please admit her. Yeah.
What's the display name? Actually, I'm fine.
Rachel only. Rachel George.
George.
Miss Rachel George.
And she is in the panelist.
Yeah, she is in.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Over to you, Ratna ma'am. She is in. Please continue.
Am I audible? Am I seen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see you and we can hear you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mrs. Rachel. You
Hello.
Are, yes, you are audible, visible, and beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Have to keep the show going. That's the reason we have to be like this. I'm sorry for not joining you all from the beginning. because of some commitments and some urgent meetings. As you know, we are really having a tough time here in Maharashtra. A lot of patients and a panic situation actually because of the COVID. So just dealing with that and just back for the meet, because this is something very close to my heart. So I didn't want to miss this chance of speaking with my nurses or connecting with my nurses. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Now, Mrs. Rachel, you have very wide experience encompassing all the functions of all the nurses of a very large state of India, that is Maharashtra. Now, I had been to Maharashtra in the position of an inspector of so many colleges. In my observation, State Nursing Council of Maharashtra is very, very strong. One of the strongest state councils I have ever come across, because the registration process itself is so strong, and whichever institutions I have gone, they themselves have told me that from the council, the surprise supervision, surprise inspection, surprise visit, it takes care. I mean that really state council is taking care of the quality of nursing care. So hats off to you for the council. So you have come little late, but in my understanding, that what has happened is the best, because the previous speakers, Dr. Bindumal has spoken about the legislation about nursing, and Mrs. Evelyn P. Kannan, TNI co-founder, she has spoken, TNI Secretary General. She has given very broad, that is the overview of whole TNI functions, how it is striving to bring and retain the quality of nursing. Mr. Abhishek, he has really brought out the importance of having insurance, health insurance for the nurses. And Mr. Basappa, he is so passionate about having this MP to India, and but it is, I mean, it has to be very, it has to have a very concrete position. It is not yet accepted by so many organizations, and actually the value of NP is not understood by majority of the people. So it has really not gone to the public. So I think because you are having very wide experience, you can sort of answer to all of them. Thank you for being here. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ratna, ma'am. This is so much told about me. Actually, I do not deserve these words, because I have to evaluate myself where I stand. If having so much of experience, and if we come to a point where we say that we still do not have recognition, I'm at the back foot there. I do not, I have not yet accomplished what I have to. But still, yes, the fight is begun. And this year of 2020, before I start my words, I would like to salute all my nurses who are at the forefront even today, tirelessly fighting this pandemic, and heartfelt condolences to all the nurses whom we lost during this battle. 2020, the year of nurses, would not have been much evident than this pandemic coming in. I think the heavens above also decided that 2020 should be the year of nurses. That is when only my calls used to be all the time engaged, asking me, Rachel ma'am, can you arrange for nurses? Commissioner office calling, Rachel ma'am, can you arrange for nurses? Yesterday in CM's meeting, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra was saying, I can arrange furniture, I can arrange a ventilator, I can arrange ICU, I can have everything, but where do I get doctors and nurses from? Wherein my nurses were even talked about from a CM's mouth is my recognition today. Means you are recognizing where my nurses stand. But without my nurses, today hospitals cannot run. That is a fact. I guess a lot have been spoken about nurse practitioner since yesterday, this course. As an administrator, this course is very close to my heart, as I said before also, because I have always myself dreamt to be a nurse who would be able to make decisions of my own. As an administrator of the state, as a registrar, I can say all the other registrars would also agree. Till now, it was like, if I have to get a small change done in my profession, I have to have so many steps climbing. By the time I reach the top, I forget what I've come for, because years have passed. One topic, one point, if I have to take it till the top, it is a real struggle. It has been a real struggle. But with the introduction of this nurse practitioner course, nurse practitioner is as good as we say a mini doctor. So if she is in the picture, things would be much easier for administrators like us. Because I do not say that we are helping nurse practitioners to be or seen in the area. In fact, they would be the ones who would help us as authorities to take up their issues forward. Because we nurses need to be seen. Till now, it is like we are following the orders. As the speaker just before me just mentioned that why did he migrate? This is a big point for me. When people back in the States or people back abroad call me and ask, why should we come back? Like, what is a good reason? Because I have attended many webinars, many like such conferences as speakers. They ask me, what is it, Rachel, that we should come back to India? We are settled here. We are having a good like financial stability here, a dignity of labor. Why do we come back? Now, this is the answer to all the questions put in front of me. Nurse practitioner is the answer. It is your expertise now. Wherever you are, you must be now you know what are the international standards. Anytime you feel like coming back, I feel you should come back and join us here as nurse practitioners, because nurse practitioners are the future of the healthcare delivery system in India. I'm almost sure that any person, any mother in this whole crowd audience, I heard 700 plus audience here, all the mothers would actually vouch along with me, because I have experienced that part of delivery. Because why I'm stressing on nurse practitioner in midwifery is that is one thing which I have experienced myself. As a mother, the transition from a woman to a mother during my delivery, it was only the nurse who was beside me. So this nurse practitioner was actually there. They are doing their role. Only thing, they had to be named. They had to be given a tag that you are a nurse practitioner. She was always there beside me. A nurse was always there. An obstetrician would come, ask the nurse, how is she doing? How is the progress of labor? That's all. But it was a nurse. After having 14 hours of my delivery pain, of my labor pain, when my doctor obstetrician decides that I should go for a LSCS, it is the nurse who said, Rachel, would you be able to try some more? It is the nurse. I give all credit to my nurse who was there beside me during that time, that she helped me have a normal delivery. So this itself shows how my nurse will contribute in this field of midwifery. As we said, in the rural systems, like 73% of the Indian land belongs to the rural area. So this nurse practitioner would really be a boom. This is a dream. When Dr. Rati Balchandran ma'am spoke to me about having this midwifery program, I could see that that need in her eyes, that why she wants this course to come forward. It is her brainchild in a lot of ways. She has advocated to the central government, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare regarding this. It is a need, because only my nurse would be able to serve these rural areas. Advocacy as an administrator, I feel, is to create a career progression for our profession. This is a main mode of career progression. Enough placements to be created by the government and stricter policies. As we said, I also believe, and I have put up a note for the government for the Nurse Practice Act. Like, I need a practice act for our nurses. Even I have graduated in law. So I have spoken with the legal department of my state. I have already started. I would like to tell this to Basav Patil, that I have already initiated the Nurse Practice Act note, or just to put a thought, because the Nurse Practitioner Act would definitely invite us to be under the legal umbrella also tomorrow. As a nurse, even though it's a normal delivery, she is responsible for the mother and the child, all the infant to be born. So this Nurse Practice Act from the center, if it comes from the center, if it is conceived from the center, it would be much easier for the states to implement it. All of us should make this program, or the Nurse Practice Act, the nurse practitioner is not a one man's job, or it's not a center's job. Each one of us as a nurse, it's our responsibility. It's my responsibility, I say. Every teaching institute should be able to tell their students or encourage their students to take up this education forward, the nurse practitioner course forward, and be a part of or contribute to this profession. Any one of us today, it's just a public thought if I say, today we approach a hospital thinking of a doctor's expertise. Who's the best doctor available in this? Who's a good chest physician? Who's a good gynecologist? Who's a good obstetrician? This is what we look. We approach a hospital seeking a particular doctor. But if this nurse practitioner course is rolled out and really successfully implemented, days are not far when patients would come to the hospital seeking for expert nurse care or the nursing care. And that is my dream. That is, I always, wherever I go, wherever, even for any functions where I meet my nurses, I say, when is the day coming when I will see a patient coming to a hospital because here the expert nursing care is delivered? I want to be getting delivered by a nurse practitioner. This day should not be far. Though ranking second in the country for population, we contribute to 10% of the total births in the country. We are also second in reducing the MMR. Very recent MMR, the first being Kerala. Maharashtra ranks second. We have almost attained the SDG goals, that is less than 70 deaths per 1 lakh birth deliveries. We have achieved it, but I am very sure once this nurse practitioner course comes in and my nurse practitioner takes up the deliveries, 63, which is our rate in Maharashtra and overall in India, this would really be negligible. And even the policy makers would be forced to think that really this was the need, how when nurses step in a particular role, how well she can achieve. SDG or HFA would not be difficult for us if really nurses are given the autonomy to do her role or to exercise her role. At present, if we get to see, there are the PHCs, the public health centers are deficient. Considering the population, 1.3 plus population, a billion population in India, the PHCs are deficient. Why? Because there is no staff. There is no MO. There is no medical officer. Why? Once nurse practitioner takes up the role and she successfully proves it to the public, it is all a mouth publicity. The patients have to vouch for nurses. That is what is my biggest achievement. If a patient says yes, when he leaves the hospital, none of the patient comes to the hospital smiling. But it's my responsibility as a nurse to ensure that once a patient walks out of the hospital, he should be smiling. He should be saying that I have got the best nursing care. So if that is there, tomorrow as administrators, we can put into the government to increase the number of PHCs. Our nurses would manage the PHCs and the subcenters. Because one PHC is supposed to cater to 30,000 population, which right now is not there across the country. Recently, because I said this nurse practitioner in critical care, though it started some time back, but midwifery is yet to start in Maharashtra. So I happened to visit Kasturba in Varda, wherein the setup is already set. Along with a representative from Japaigo, I had happened to visit and I was so happy to see the dedicated efforts of each and every faculty there who's preparing for the nurse practitioner course in midwifery there. The doctors in the hospital, they took me for the rounds. They joined me for the rounds. They showed me the birthing centers. They showed me the They showed me the confidence they have in their nurses. It is a big boost for me when I saw a doctor saying, anytime my nurse would do the best. Anytime my nurse would do better than what I can entrust a resident or a junior of my department to do. A senior obstetrician talking like that it really, it gives me a lot of positivity to go forward with this. After that, when I happen to visit some other institutions who have good infrastructure, who have their own hospitals, who are having good deliveries, and so I happen to tell them, why don't you put up the proposal? I want maximum nurse practitioners to come out from my state in the years ahead. Now, what is more important for me is, what is the difference? Like, the panel has to think about this, and the policymakers have to think, I think, what is the difference between a nurse and a doctor today? Till 12th standard or 12 years of schooling, we all are undergoing the same training. Till 12th standard, I and a person who's going for a medical profession is the same. But after this, for 12th standard is when our professions take a turn. A medical student and a nursing student. In 5 years' time, a medical student is well versed with the theory. I agree to it. But a nursing student, from the first year, from the fundamentals of nursing, she has her hands on the patient. How beautiful her curriculum is. She is just not trained theoretically. She is so strong in her practicals. It is not difficult. So what happens in this 4 years is, our nurse is so much equipping herself with so much of theory and knowledge and skill that maybe somewhere down the lane, that personality development which has to happen takes a way back, I feel. So in this course, as a nurse practitioner, I, as a patient, as a mother, would-be mother, would always want the trust of the person who is going to deliver me. That trust in her for that 12 hours, the trust in her for that 14 hours. It is very important for me. So that personality development, which has to be there in a nurse, should be developed when it should be an important topic during this course. When she comes out, she should be able to talk like a doctor. She should be able to, though her care is going to be the best, but the talking part, or the TLC, the tender loving care, or the respectful maternal care, that is what my nurse would be different than a doctor. So that is one thing which we should be focusing on. Then I always hear from everyone the recognition, what we do not get. That is why the nurses are getting prepared here and traveling west. Okay, so the recognition, why don't we have a recognition map? When I go and I speak for half an hour, oh yes, we are all boosted up. After that half an hour, again back to square one. Where is the recognition? We deserve to be recognized. We deserve to be appreciated. But why not? But let's not forget. Let's learn from this word called as impossible, that I am possible. I am possible never says impossible for me. It's I am possible for me. So that is what we need to take. Take the best from whatever we can. This course, yes, we may have ups and downs. I do not say everything is going to be smooth. There's going to be ups and downs, but the selection of the nurses for TOTs, the training of the trainers, the selection of those nurses, it should be very clarified. It should be very important. Major stakeholders who are investing in our nurses should be a part of the selection team. Those who have interest should be able to do. I may not be good at everything, but I may be good at something. So the one who has the passion to go and practice herself should be involved or selected in this program, or to be a nurse practitioner. That's what I think. I have also exceeded my time, but then before I leave, one quote for all those nurses or the nursing leaders associations who are heading this nurse practitioner course. Success is not an accident. It is a hard work, the perseverance, the learning, the studying, the sacrifice, and most of all, the love for what you are doing. And I will quote this word specially for Dr. Rati Balachandran, who has made it possible. And with all her efforts, I know all the leaders below her, all the leaders along with her, we will together succeed. And on behalf of Maharashtra Nursing Council, I extend all my cooperation whenever required. Please let me know. All the best. Be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rachel. It's so excellent. You have taken my breath away. Really, I'm telling you, with your vibrant spirit, strength of voice, you are just excellent. And you really boost up our morale to such an extent that today, definitely, today, tomorrow sessions are there. There will be resolution that this NPCC Act is going to come. That's the strength of your voice. Thank you so much. From your presentation, few things that may I just it's a repetition. You have told about that independent practice. That is the essential thing to have even existence of nursing in India. And excellently, you have brought out the difference between nurse and the doctor. Actually, in my understanding, medical diagnosis talks about the nature of the illness, but nursing is all about identifying and taking care and resolving the effect of illness on individual, family, and community. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of nursing. That's the reason that right from first year till fourth year, we are oriented to all types of theory and theory-based skill also, and also research. Actually, our curriculum is so vast and it's really tell you, uska jawab nahi.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
many people have told me that your BSc nurses should be given a BN and BA and BSc. All
Very
degrees they can be given. It's
yes.
such a vast thing, and we are equipped with this. But the question is why today our situation is like this way. So the one is that maybe the leadership and the association, and also there is an act. The legal point of view, if only we have our legal backing,
Yes.
we also have our responsibility, authority, which brings out accountability. Accountability brings out the quality.
Very true.
Everything is a vicious cycle. So excellently brought out all these things. And so, since you are here, please do not leave because there are quite a few people waiting to be, so many valid questions to be answered.
Right. Okay.
So, may I request Maxi Martin? She has brought out so many valid questions when I look at the question answer. Maxi Martin, please ask the questions you have asked. Very, very valid and solid questions. May I have Maxi Martin? Hello? Maxi Martin has written so many questions. No?
Ma'am,
Hello? Are you there?
Attendees do not have the access to speak. So if she has
Oh, they do not have access.
to
Okay.
but you can address the question by reading it.
Okay, fine. So, Maxi Martis has brought out question that NP program is cost benefit strategy. It's not cost deficit actually. And so she has given so many suggestions about bringing this NP to the NP Act, Nurse Practitioner Act, in tertiary care, secondary care, primary care, and also in the public health, as Dr. Rachel has mentioned. But her questions are all around the government acts. How to emphasize and how to bring about the government act about these NP programs. It may be in the community, it may be in the tertiary, secondary areas, care areas, but how to bring, what is the strategy can be adopted to have the government attention to make this NP program beneficial to public, cost beneficial, cost effective to public. Yes, please, may I request Dr. Rachel George to answer. After that, whoever is in the panel, I requested all of you, please think about it and please come out with some solution about this.
as I said, ma'am, this is something very new to the public also. This in midwifery, it is not going to be tough again, because this role is already adorned by the nurses. Only thing is, now there is a MLC, that is a midwife-led clinic, a unit, a different unit would be there, which would be headed by the nurse. Now, to bring it under the act, again, it is a procedure, because I have taken up with the legal experts. I've just put the note, because of this COVID coming in, really things are getting delayed, because now once we roll out this program, only then we will know the legal implications of this. But in the rural, absolutely this is a hit, because there are no other options now. Doctors are not available in the system. If you go to the PHCs, absolutely doctors are not handling normal deliveries. It is the nurses who are doing it. In critical care, yes, there are a lot of limitations which are seen from the professional bodies, medical professional bodies also and associations, which will be addressed if more and more nurses are coming into it. Now, what happened is, the batches which have started, it is seen that there is a dip in the number of admissions. There are, because somewhere it is not laid down. We as policymakers need to sit and enact acts and laws pertaining to the nurse practice. We need to define the role, define her limitations, or determine her exercise of roles in the particular field, and then come up with an act. Without that, this is going to be a tough job. We agree to it, and we have it in the plan. Just don't worry, we'll come out with it soon under the leadership of eminent people like you, and definitely ADG, and yes, we have good INC. So along with them, we will definitely come out with something.
Now there is one more question from.
As I said before, the nursing council and the ministry, as well as the professional association, is very much important to come together and work together for collective bargaining. Because when you do the collective bargaining for this one, and everyone need to advocate ourselves as a nurse practitioner. Because because sometimes we find that, because many of the nurses, we ourselves, we don't feel to call ourselves as a nurse. I don't feel myself to call as a nurse. When we say that, we cannot expect the society to respect my profession. So I need to, because my designation, even whatever may be the designation, but as a person, I am proud to be a nurse midwife. And when I say that itself, and it boosts our energy. That is why the TNA escalated the employees are proud to be a nurse. So let us identify our own potential, and we need to come together. Everyone need to come together. We need to work on this, and because I am able, because as Miss Rachel said very nicely, there is no word is impossible. I am possible. So let us take this call. Every nurse, we need to take a call on this. I am possible. I can do it. I am a nurse practitioner, because whatever the registered nurse and the registered midwife, definitely if I put it in practice according to my own level, the entire, that means medical fraternity will come to know. Every medical fraternity, they knew very well. Without the nurse, they cannot do anything. But they find it very difficult to address. But we need to come forward. Come work on those issues, and we have to stand together and unite together to advocate this nurse practitioner is very essential. And as always, we say that we as a nurses can that we take care of 80% of the healthcare system. We are not only the backbone of the healthcare system, we are the lifeware of the healthcare system. Without the nurses and midwives, the health system cannot function properly. The world recognized, the university recognized. Let me recognize that one, and let we all come together, and we will definitely work on this. And we have to hand in hand work together, and council and the ministry and the professional association. We have to fight for this cause further. Collective bargaining is very much essential, and strong clarity of the role is very much important, as well as the legal framework. Because they have created a lot of courses like a nurse practitioner, midwifery, nurse practitioner, critical care unit. But do you have this legal framework to practice? That is what we have to come. And that's the reason that in the NNMC bill and TNA strongly advocate, create the nurse practitioner practice board as well as the regulation board. When we have that is practice act, practice as well as a regulator, that means one, definitely I hope the NNMC in coming and coming year, we will be strongly, definitely will advocate of we need to legally, we need to get protected. How the doctors are getting protected, the same way, and we need to be protected to practice. So that is the reason the Nurse Practice Act is very much important to implement, so that we can do much more in this nurse practice. Otherwise, if we keep on adding the education and the training and everything, unless until I do not have that what I supposed to do after completion of the that means a nurse practitioner program, and we may fail to do. So we have to work on these areas about the clarity of the role, legal framework. Then definitely we have to do the collective bargaining in this area.
You have really put it in nutshell. Thank you very much. And that collective bargaining, that word itself gives strength to our thinking. But then, one thing as our education and knowledge, that is the knowledge, skill, and attitude. That's the competency. Unless and until we demonstrate or display our competency, how to do that, how to get that, I mean, people's support. So we need to, every nurse, we have to be competent in our profession. Then only we can very confidently say, yes, I'm a nurse. Yes, many of the incidences have happened to many one of us, where actually people hesitate to tell that I'm a nurse. That shows our self-esteem. But if I'm competent, I will have self-esteem. So leader like you, Mrs. Evelyn, leader like you, Dr. Rachel, and leader, Mr. Vasappa, and our Dr. Bindumal will definitely help us in this litigation matter. And insurance, most important Insurance Act is coming up with the help of Mr. Abhishek. We are so grateful to all of you. All of us, you are showing us the way, which way to go to positive direction to bring this NP to our India as a very, very strong supporter to healthcare delivery system. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's beyond my what to say. I have no word to say. Thanks to all of you for your wisdom and for your contribution. And then may I take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this very, very important conference to bring all these expert people together and to give their input, so that as a summary, when at the end of tomorrow, when we bring out the summary of this whole conference, we will have a solution to our answers, a solution to our problems, and there will be so many questions will be answered. Now, Maxi had asked about COPRA. That COPRA, that maybe someone will write to her that answer to that what COPRA is doing, and healthcare is going to be removed from that. That's what she has written. So there are so many questions related to that, and by some way this organization will help us to have the answer and solution. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Anis George. Thank you very much for being chairperson. You are the most appropriate person. And Rupa Rao, you are the really, what to say, the pilot of this whole session. That's what I have experienced. And
I think Dr. Ratna, I think Mr. Baswa wants to tell something.
Yes.
1 minute he wants.
So, yeah, just a minute, just to, because I did not complete rightly. What is I wanted to, this panel was kind of a few voices where I heard is the mere sloganeering. Slogans would not help us. We need to be critically understanding what is going on. And we have borrowed a lot of words from different domains. We should not borrow the words from different domains like mini doctors. No, we have our own words, original thinking, original values, original principles of our own. And as a collective, as a community, nursing community, so I would always means I would like to hear Indian nurses speaking about Indian context. Of course, we bring the best practice throughout the world. Best practice is always there. If you give the culturally contextual education to the people, they feel empowered. So why people hesitant to say I am nurse? Why people are not saying nurse? because it is not culturally, appealing for them. It's not culturally giving them that status. If I say my surname in my village, I will be hired as a god or something, leader of the family name. But if I say I'm a nurse, do you being such a born to such a family and you are working as a nurse? This is the cultural understanding we need to have that. So then I wanted to recite a poem because I'm the nurse. Writing poems is a great thing because there are a lot of human values, human philosophy, humanistic philosophy comes in picture. So I would like to conclude saying that देश को सदृढ़ बनाना है, देश को सदृढ़ बनाना है तो लोगों को सदृढ़ बनाना है. So if you want to make country strong and healthy, you need to make people strong and healthy. Then if you want to make people strong and healthy, you need to make healthcare professionals strong and healthy. So देश को सदृढ़ बनाना है, लोगों को सदृढ़ बनाओ. लोगों को सदृढ़ बनाना है तो आरोग्य कार्यकर्ताओं को सदृढ़ बनाओ. That's what the message we need to take from here, and also look at not the slogans, look at the actual work. In this panel, there are very eminent people who can influence the government, make the things possible and get it done. So that's my concluding statements. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Quite excellent and fantastic. Hats off to you. Hope we interact more on poetic language. I too write poetry. Thank you very much, all of you. And over to Rupa Rawat. Can you please conclude? Or
No, ma'am, it's for the chairperson, please.
Chairperson. Yes, Dr. Anis George.
Yeah. As we have reached the last minute of the time allotted to us, and as another group is waiting to start, I just would like to say everything in one sentence. A very vibrant team of panelists, a host coordinator, and the moderator. Thank you everyone for the valuable words which you had shared with us. And as all of you know, we have a long way to go. We are not even in the neonatal stage, even maybe in the fetal stage. And so let us patiently and work very hard to achieve what we are aiming at. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Anis.
I request all the panelists just have a look on the question answer box. If they can answer any of the question, that will be highly appreciated. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Rupa. God bless.
I think there was a question from Dr. Shripriya about whether insurance companies are offering professional indemnity insurance for nurses because they don't recognize that as a profession. So the answer is that, yes, you're right, that there has been historically this context. But as we have gotten in touch with the association and this panel, we've also activated this conversation with insurers where there is a willingness to look at this as a separate cover for nurses. The question is, for us to bring that collective bargaining power that somebody mentioned, involve the association, and then make a policy for the nurses for professional indemnity insurance as well.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Over to Rita, ma'am.
I really have no words to appreciate each and every panelist. Starting with, I think, let me take Rupa, who's like the pilot of the plane, and of course, Anis George, Dr. Anis George, Dr. Ratna Prakash. Hats off to both of you all. You all have really carried the panel beautifully. And of course, all the panel members, absolute salute to you all. You all were so very much vibrant. I wouldn't know, sitting over here, I felt I'm all charged up. And I feel, okay, let me run across and let me tell MNC and INC, give me the NP program. I'm going to start it immediately. Great, great, absolutely great. God bless all of you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. We are continuing with our scientific session 3, which was started in morning. So may I request Miss Prasanna Kumari ma'am to please continue the chair, to please introduce our next speaker. Ma'am, you are muted. Please unmute, ma'am. Preeti, can you please share the screen?
Yes, Chris.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. In the morning session, we had two eminent nurse practitioners from US. In the afternoon session, we have with us two eminent nurse practitioners from UK. I'm going to introduce Ms. Lalita Iyer Goyal, who is an ALNP partner Lee Surgery NHS UK. Regarding her professional qualification, she is an RGN, RSP, MSc in advanced practice. She is working as an associate lecturer and an independent prescriber. She has got diploma in sexual health and family planning services, PG diploma in diabetes and teachers training program. Her professional experiences in the primary care in UK, she is working since 1993. Initially starting off with a project on women from ethnic minority communities, accessing women's health services and sexual health services. As a health visitor dealing with families, mothers and children under 5 years of age and safeguarding of children. She also worked as a practice nurse in general practice, undertaking setting up of services, offering childhood and adult immunization, family planning, women's health services, travel health and chronic disease management. She has worked as advanced level nurse practitioner, lead for diabetes within the practice, lead for education, training, recruitment of nurses, pharmacists and HCAs within the practice. She worked in Saudi Arabia for 5 years, primarily as infection control nurse before migrating to UK. She also has worked as lecturer in City University for 2 years in general practice nursing and prescribing. Currently, she is working as associate lecturer in GPN and advanced practice. Highlights in her career: she is a lecturer in general practice nursing, partner responsibilities in general practice, working as an advanced level nurse practitioner and prescriber role. She had many scholarship and she had a scholarship from LT College of Nursing. This is the second person in this panel who has studied in LT College of Nursing, which is my institution from where I have completed my post-graduation. Happy to see you, and we are ready to listen to you. You'd like to listen your little bit experience as a nurse practitioner in UK. A hearty welcome and over to you, Ms. Lalita.
Thank you. I'm really very thankful that I've been asked to. Can you all hear me, all of you? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll share the screen now. So I've got some slides. Is that, how does that work now? Share, okay. Is that okay? Can everyone see it?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yeah, okay. So I'm really thankful to the organizers. I'm thankful to my batchmate, Shri, who asked me, who came up with this idea of me talking about an advanced level nurse practitioner role. I'm thankful to the government of India and the CNRS and all the eminent eminent professionals that I've been hearing, and the names like Professor Rita Lakhani, Dr. Rati Balachandran. I mean, I'm really honored to be here today. So let me start, because I have a few slides, and if I do run late, please apologies. So so the objectives of this discussion will be about primary care in the United Kingdom and the role of the ALNP in primary care. I just want you to give a brief, I want you all to give, for me to give you all a brief gist about what is primary care in the UK. Then I want to highlight the scope of practice of the ALNP within a GP practice setting. There are some legislative issues and appraisal systems that ANPs have to follow. Are they being followed? Are they not being followed? So, I'd like to highlight some of that, because all is not rosy, and, we have our own problems as well. And then I like they say in Hindi, choti muh badi baat. I'm sorry, but I would like to give some suggestions on scope of practice in India, because in my mind, I can see clearly from all the other speakers what they've said, and even Ma'am Rachel George just before us, about how these things can fit into the Indian system. So what we have over here is...
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Can you please put the slide share, put in full screen?
Full screen, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, is that better?
Yes,
is that better?
Fine,
yeah.
fine, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely, thank you. So, primary healthcare services, it's very wordy and it's a very busy slide. So we'll go over this very quickly. So you have a general practice or family practice, as they call it in the States. In India, it is your local family doctor, your friendly doctor you've known for many years. And here as well, it is something very similar that you would know, you would be going to your practice as a child. And unless you move area or you work elsewhere, you'd probably have the same GP and the same practitioners, and maybe the same advanced nurse practitioner if they're happy to stay at the practice. So a GP practice consists of receptionists, medical secretaries. There are lots of general practitioners depending on the size of the practice. So and then you have your ALNPs or ANPs. Now I would say the word ALNP and the word ANP is very synonymous. Because ALNP is the title given by, if you're registered with the RCN, who has actually given us a PIN number. The NMC, or the Nursing and Midwifery Council in India, hasn't yet given us a separate entry into their register for political reasons, I suspect. But recently the RCN has given us a PIN number as long as we meet their criteria, which is having a master's and etc. and many years of experience. So we have trainee GPs, we have practice nurses within the practice, healthcare assistants, very similar to our nurse support workers in India. Then we have health visitors. They are ad hoc. They come to the practice once a week to see our mothers and children under 5. We have nursery nurses as well. We have nowadays, they are recruiting clinical pharmacists, because skill mix is a key word in primary care and even in secondary care in the UK, skill mix. So we are getting pharmacists and training them up to be clinical, not just dispense in a pharmacy, but actually getting involved in patient care, because pharmacists have a great knowledge about medication and they can be a valuable asset. We have mental health specialist nurses who again visit the practice once a week to see the patients. We have the diabetic specialist nurse. They are based in hospitals, but they come out to general practice to see cases that we struggle with. And we have the heart failure specialist nurse who does the same. So these are specialist nurses. They are not ANPs, they're specialist nurses. Then this feeds, then once you have your little GP practice, then you have the wider primary care, which is the respiratory specialist nurses or the ACES team, who actually monitor the home oxygen monitoring, very severe COPD, asthma at home, and the elderly. Then you have the district nurses who will actually go to the houses of elderly patients generally, for ulcer treatment, wound ulcers, whatever, giving injections. Then you have the community matron who is senior to the district nurses, who actually coordinates all the care. We now have the community physiotherapist as well, who's the first port of call when people come in to the practice for back pain and various musculoskeletal problems. We have dietitians, podiatrists, welfare officers, social workers, and we have a paramedic home visiting team as well. And this is a recent innovation. And this all feeds into secondary care. So there's constant communication between primary and secondary care. And secondary care is where is hospitals, and tertiary care is hospitals, as you all know. And within secondary care, you have the primary urgent care centers, which are next to the A&Es, which is for all walk-in cases who come to the A&E and who are not that serious, who probably just turned up because they're feeling breathless or, simple things, not your, road traffic accidents. And this is manned by advanced nurse practitioners who actually take the lead in triaging and treating such patients. So then you have your boards, you have your CCG, you have your GP confeds. We have neighborhood teams where 3 or 4 surgeries are all joined together and they share services. And this is mainly done not only so that practices speak to each other, GPs speak to each other, but also because we can share services and reduce costs. Because at the end of the day, everything is cost. So, so this is a little picture of a GP practice where I work, and that's the waiting area. Because of social distancing, we've had to, put the chairs a little bit away, and one of my trainee doctors has kindly agreed to pose for me, which is this is a clinical room. So just gives you the flavor of what's really happening in general practice. Right, so advanced nurse practitioners, we all have to follow the RCN framework. And this is supported by the NHS Wales Advanced Practice Framework. So you have 4 pillars. The pillars are clinical, education, research, and management. Now, what happens is really, I won't go into detail because I've got the reference for this later on. So if people want to look at it in detail, to set up curriculum, it's a great way. But in different areas, you will find that the pillars vary. So for example, in a GP practice, you'll find that the clinical component is profound because we are seeing patients, we are face-to-face patients, we are phoning patients now because of COVID. So the clinical component is very high. Education is very high because we have so many people visiting the practice. We have student nurses who have a 2 or 3 week placement in their basic undergrad curriculum. Then we have doctors, F2 doctors, who actually after qualifying, they work in the hospitals for a while. Then they come out and visit general practice and they work for 3 months to see if this is something they want to do in future. And then you have medical students who just come in for observation, for training, depending on if there's a GP who is willing to teach medical students who's got the qualification. Then you have management and leadership role as an advanced nurse practitioner. And this is all dependent on how the nurse wants to expand herself. If an ANP just wants to do clinical and a bit of education and wants to limit herself, then that's fine. But someone like me, I'm a partner at the practice. So at everything that happens in the practice, including hiring and recruiting of staff, policies, procedures, infection control, and we've got something called CQC, which is Care Quality Commission. So they visit us every 3 years, and every year we get a phone call from them. This is to ensure that the practice is performing to high standards, and it is meeting basic requirement, and not just basic, it has to meet more requirements. And we'll come to it a bit later, where I'll talk about the targets that we have to deal with in general practice. And research is one component, and we always encourage this component. If people want to study further, they want to do some research. But I myself have done some research around diabetes and COVID, which is very topical at the moment. So I'm still looking at a lot of my patients who've been admitted to hospital. They're coming out, and we are finding that there is a link between diabetes and COVID. Not that diabetes causes COVID, but if you are diabetic, you're overweight, you've got a high HbA1c, then that actually can predispose you to getting COVID. And I'm looking at what's happening once they are discharged from hospitals. What's their situation? Are they presenting with long COVID? So this kind of research is ongoing, and I'm trying to collate and do like an audit trail about this. So how my role developed, because this is a lived-in experience. And so I'd just like to briefly say how my role developed. So I was initially as a health visitor, as ma'am just introduced me. And then I started as a practice nurse. Now, what does a practice nurse do? A practice nurse's role is not just, it's task-oriented, but it's also using her skills in different ways. So you've got child immunizations, and we are now being monitored. We've always been monitored for child immunizations. We've got to achieve 90% target for all the children within our practice to make sure that they are immunized. And this is a big job. It's not that easy. Just because you're in the UK doesn't mean people will take immunizations. Oh no, there is a lot of opposition for even basic child immunizations, and even with the COVID, as you probably are reading in the press. So it's like constantly we have to chase these mothers up and inform them, especially with the MMR and the bad publicity that's been with the MMR because of the Wakefield paper, which was years and years ago, but the effects are still there. So a practice nurse will undertake child immunizations, travel immunizations. When people go traveling abroad, there's a lot of injections that they will need. So she takes the lead on that. Pap smears. So we do the pap smears. Unlike India, maybe in a GP practice where a GP or people will go to a gynecologist to have a pap smear. Here we do the pap smears, and we have to have a recognized course before we take a pap smear. And this is not just for nurses. Even doctors who want to do pap smears post qualification have to do a recognized smear. And as Mr. Sajan said yesterday, the new flavor is advanced clinical practitioners. So where people from different backgrounds, they are applying for this course, which is similar to an ANP role course, same sort of curriculum. And they probably will have expertise in their field, and then they'll also have a general role. So pap smears is a very important task. Again, we are monitored, and it's not just taking the pap smear. I will also take pap smears because I need to keep my skills up. But at the same time, I will also be responsible for interpreting the results, for explaining to the patients on a day-to-day basis about what the results mean for them. Who's got high-risk HPV, and what happens with the high-risk HPV? When does the person go for colposcopy? What happens in the colposcopy unit? That sort of explanation is very, very important. So communication is key. So I will say one of the good essential qualities of a nurse practitioner is to have a very high standard of communication with the patients. And with the staff, but very important because it is with the patients that we deal with, and it's for the patients that we are there. So that's why we need very good communication skills. And the other big role of a practice nurse is chronic disease management. And this is also the role of an ANP. So I'll come to it later. So where is the ANP? So the reason for me to give you the practice nurse was every practice has got a practice nurse, and every practice now may have an ANP. Not every GP practice has got an ANP, because again, similar to what I've been hearing about India, about other places, although we are very much established and we even have got a PIN number of our own, yet we still have pockets of people who don't completely trust an ANP. They don't really understand how much of training we've received and how much of difficulty it has been to reach to this level and how much experience we have. So it's like Madame George was saying, that from the nursing school, we are dealing with patients. So I think an ANP brings a very holistic perspective to the patient. So we look at not just the medical diagnosis and you can take this medication for this. We look at what's the family background. We look at, oh, if she is an obese patient, how much activity she's doing. And what is her situation? There might be a woman with domestic violence. Are we asking this woman, how can we empower this woman? There can be a mother who's struggling, a single mom struggling with lots of young children. She's got no time to care for herself. So how do we support all these different groups of patients? So it's thinking out of the box. And I think that's what an ANP does really, really well. So my role gradually developed into seeing more complicated illnesses after I was still undergoing training of an advanced nurse practitioner. And my training was nearly a 4-year course, and it was at master's level, and we had a joint curriculum with all other ANPs. So there could be people from the hospital coming for the training, as well as people coming from the community. So I homed in, and my dissertation was on patient education for diabetes. So because that was my area of interest. So we have a common curriculum, which is research, physical assessment. So we do all this physical assessments. So it's like the abdominal assessment, respiratory, ENT, skin, the whole lot. So our training is very much like a medical student. And we have to take OSCEs, vivas in order to pass. And then I'm an independent prescriber. So as an independent prescriber, I have great powers as an ANP. And I would say all ANPs should have prescribing powers, because once you diagnose and once you make a diagnosis, you assess the patient, and once you want to treat, you do not then want to go to a GP to say, oh, can you sign this prescription off for me? Because that's how your confidence develops, by being a prescriber. So for me, the prescribing is a great qualification, and I use it carefully. I use it very well, because with power comes responsibility. So what happens is you can only prescribe, and it's there in the NMC as well, in our scope of practice, that you can only prescribe as much as you are comfortable with. So if you're not comfortable with prescribing controlled drugs, for example, and you don't have a background in that, then you would be better not prescribing it, because with power comes responsibilities. So now at this stage, I would see any patient who normally would see a GP. So I'll go further on to say what kind of cases I see. So surgeries operate very differently in UK. On the whole, they have a same kind of motto and theos, but you know, the individual of surgeries, of how you make appointments. You can either have booked appointments, you can have walk-in surgeries, etc. So in a lot of surgeries, they have walk-in clinics which are triaged by an advanced nurse practitioner. So the advanced nurse practitioner, for example, if a patient walks in with a back pain, and they'll be first seen by the nurse practitioner, and then she will rule out if there is any red flags. So is it a simple musculoskeletal back pain? And does it need any further investigations? So she will triage. And in a lot of, because the training in UK, unlike our brilliant training in India, and I really want to say this, because our training in India is excellent. I am here, what I am today, because of my training in LT College of Nursing, and my lecturers, and Mrs. Handa. I cannot thank her enough for giving me that background in midwifery, and Miss Agnes for research, and all these things. You know, when you're daily, when you learn, when you're in the college, when you're learning, you think of all this that you were taught in your college. At that time, you may think, oh my God, it's a lot of work. But now I am what I am because of my training, because I had a wonderful pediatric background, a wonderful midwifery background. We had psychiatry experience, which unfortunately in UK, because the training is adult or peds. That's how the undergraduate training is. So a nurse who's done the peds training may not know enough about adults. Whereas I feel I know all of it. I've spent time in a psychiatric ward. So when I get a patient in the clinic who says, last night I was about to kill myself, for example, I did have a patient who said, I nearly committed suicide. And just before I put my neck through the noose, I thought I shouldn't paralyze myself by putting it in the wrong area. And that split second, the patient actually changed their mind and didn't want to commit. So he came next morning. So I know immediately what the questions I can see to ask him. Is he having severe depression? What should I do? So, you know, so this is where, and then I send him straight away to see a psychiatric consultant at the hospital. And sometimes we actually have someone accompany this patient to the hospital so that we don't lose them. Because in UK, again, because of the it's free at the point of delivery. It's free. They don't pay us. Patients don't pay us when they come to a general practitioner. We don't have an insurance system. The NHS is free at the point of delivery. Doesn't matter if it's cancer, doesn't matter if it's COVID, doesn't matter if it's any chronic disease management. So I feel I'm very all-rounded. So what happens? So scope and role, I've already said some of it. So after we make a diagnosis, after proper history taking, because we are taught in our course how to do a proper history taking. We follow various models. Roger Neighbor's model of consultation skills, excellent, about the verbal and non-verbal cues of a patient. What is it you're looking for? As the patient walks into your room, what do you look for? You know, is the patient limping? So all this, you know, you make up, because we get 15 minutes or sometimes 10 minutes to make that assessment. And that's it. That's all we have is 10 or 15 minutes in a little room, and you're all by yourself. So it's a great responsibility being an advanced nurse practitioner. And then you have to do an examination, think of differential diagnosis, investigations, and treatment plans. So the treatment plans can be either giving a prescription, say the person is having heartburn, so you give some lansoprazole, or the person needs a change of blood pressure medication, the blood pressure has gone up and the existing medication is not agreeing with it. So if you feel comfortable, you can change. Then, or you have to consider referral pathways. So as an ANP, I make consultant referrals, I make social referrals, welfare scheme. There's an exercise referral scheme as well in our area, because where I work in Hackney, it's a very deprived area, and there is a high multi-ethnic background. So with social deprivation comes the money. So that's how it works in the UK. So areas with a high deprivation will get more money allocated to them. And then again, coming back to the roles, I'm just going to talk more about the role, because I know this is what this program is all about. So assessing sick children. So most of the sick children in other countries, even in Abu Dhabi, my nephew is there. If his child gets gastroenteritis, they go straight to the pediatrician. But in UK, that doesn't happen. The GP surgery is the first port of call. So the sick child will come to us first. So if it's a recession, a breathing issue, if it's asthma, or if it's eczema, if it's a just minor childhood problem like constipation. So all that can be seen by an advanced nurse practitioner. I feel more comfortable because I've got my health visitor experience. I've got my excellent training in India. So all of that I can bring. I see scabies, I recognize straight away, because for those of you who trained in LT, you know that our urban public health was to deal with scabies. So all that experience I bring. And if somebody comes to me with a dog bite, and then I'm thinking rabies, and I have seen these patients. So for me, this is, so all this experience, as I said, all this education has been very useful. So again, I talked about the art of nursing patient consultation, so we'll skip that. So having a good workplace mentor is very, very important. So when you're initially a nurse practitioner, what happens? You need a really good mentor. So the mentor most of the time is a doctor, is a GP, who is slightly senior and who's willing to train you. Now, there is a problem here because GPs are not paid to actually do your supervision. Now, with advanced clinical practitioners, which I've just seen the document 2 days ago, sent by the Health Education England. So with advanced clinical practitioners, who I don't think they'll replace nurse practitioners, but that is the new term. Now they're adding a supervisionary pay for people who will supervise the people in general practice. For me, I did not have a GP who was getting paid, so I had to wait long hours after his clinic, and perhaps you have to have really good communication skills to get them to train you, because you need to see patients all the time, and you need somebody who you can call. But fortunately, in the practice I am, it's a very open door policy. We go and knock on the doctor's door and we say, could you come round, see this child? I'm not quite sure what's happening. So that sort of thing. So when you first start as an ANP, this is there. You will not know all your skills in a day. You will not know everything in a day. It takes a long, long, long time to develop all these skills to make you very full. And that's why by the end, after so many years, you just, it's not a mini doctor. You become as good as a general practitioner. I'm talking about primary care. You see the same cases as a doctor. So when we talk about India, I can say how this is going to work really well. So the other important aspects of this this is being a role model for nursing students, nursing staff, and healthcare assistants who work directly under the guidance of nursing staff. So and then we have student nurses. We have a lot of teaching going on every single day in general practice. And what generally happens, like in my practice, there's 2 nurse practitioners. So my colleague, she's very clinical. She doesn't really like to teach a lot. So she would just see the patients and she would be happy to do that. Whereas me, I take a more global view because of my background in teaching and because I'm a lecturer at the moment. So, I have great interest in imparting my experience and learning. I learn a lot from student nurses as well. So I've got a quick case scenario, which we won't go in detail because I'm sure we'll be running out of time. So for example, this patient is a diabetic patient, and or she complains of extreme tiredness, and she sees a clinician who sends her for some blood tests. So there's HbA1c, urinase, full blood count. She also complains of increased urination. So you think, is it a UTI? What is going on? So it turns out that she's diabetic, and all new diabetics are referred to me at the practice. All patients who've got high HbA1c, I see them because I change medication, I monitor them, I refer them if I need to the hospital or to the diabetic specialist nurse. So when I see this patient, Mrs. Patel, I don't just say to her, okay, you can start on metformin and that's the end of the story. No, I would say to her, what's your weight? What is your activity levels? What's your diet? What's your mental state? Because as in chronic disease management, we all know if somebody's mental state is not that great, or if somebody's got low-lying depression, they will not take the tablets. So for me, unlike hospitals where you can monitor what the patients are taking, in general practice it's all based on trust and care. It's what the patient tells you. So if they say we're taking the medication, you've got to believe them. Of course, we've got a better system because all prescriptions are electronic now from the practice. So we can see when patients are requesting for their repeat prescriptions. So that gives us an idea if they are actually taking their medication or not. But of course, we have some patients who are very clever, who take the repeat medication, but never take the medication themselves. So, so you have to be very clever to know what's going on. Treating Mrs. Patel, it's not going to happen in one consultation. She may be low on B12. So I've got to know where, I've got to book her with the practice nurse for the injection. So because I take the lead in diabetes and I've got additional training, I don't have to ask another GP or confer with somebody about what medication I need to start for this patient. I go ahead, I start. If it doesn't work, and if I need more advice, I would ring the consultant at the Homerton Hospital, that's my local hospital, or I would speak to the diabetic specialist nurse. And if it's insulin, after I've started them on the first course of insulin, then I would get the diabetic specialist nurse to monitor them, because she has more time than me. She gets half an hour. I get just 10 or 15 minutes per consultation. And I could have a whole morning, 2.5 hours, 3 hours of non-stop patients without a breather. So it's not just diabetes I do. I also see women with gynecological conditions, PID, sexual health issues, and some midwives, like especially in UK, they're not trained midwives, because if you do midwifery, it's a separate training as a student. So it's a midwifery training and you don't get adult training. So they're not comfortable to see and women in their antenatal condition. So I get people with hyperemesis gravidarum. I get people with sometimes they feel the baby is not moving properly. So because of my midwifery background, I'm able to offer the help. Or if I can't offer all my help. I can't know everything. So I need to know in general practice where I would refer this patient. So, so that is important. So what we do essentially in general practice or in surgery is weed out the red flags. So for example, there's a person with headache. Is this headache due to a tumor or is it a simple migraine? So that is where our skills are really important. A child cannot breathe. Is it because the child's got a chest infection? So you listen to the chest, or is it because the child is recessing? And the child can have severe problems if you send them home. So this is where we are really skilled in general, and we are developing. I'm still learning. I'm still developing. There are still cases that I don't know. For example, sickle cell crisis. So that's an area I'm trying to develop. Is because we have a lot of African Caribbean population, and there's a high amount of sickle cell. So what is it you look for? So there's every day there's things I learned. And breast lumps, I feel fairly confident now, but in the beginning, all the lumps I would refer to the hospital. But actually we get penalized. If you do wrong referrals, we get really penalized. Because basically what the NHS wants is that we manage maximum cases in general practice, and that we do not send them to the hospital, because as soon as the patient goes into a hospital, it's 250 pounds. Even if they set foot in the hospital in A&E, it's 250 pounds plus all the other add-ons. So that money goes out of primary care. So the primary care budget is different, secondary care budget is different. So if we have too many referrals to people going into A&E, then they will question the surgery about our access. Are you seeing patients enough? Are you having enough hours open? Why is this patient come to the hospital? Because the asthma is not under control. So we get asked all these questions, and that this is where we have to adhere to the quality QOF targets, that is quality outcome framework targets. So chronic disease targets. So chronic diseases means diabetes, COPD, asthma, hypertension, heart failure. So all these patients, as soon as the acute phase is over, They're back in the community, and it's our job to look after them. And we take all the flack about repeat prescription. We take all the flack about it. If they go to the hospital to see a consultant on an outpatient appointment and their medication is changed, the consultant writes to us and says, okay, I've stopped this person's bisoprolol and I've started him on another tablet, Ramipril instead, because he's got a lowering kidney function. So I'm going to start him on Ramipril. So we then change the scripts for the patient, or the scripts means prescription for the patient. So again, with me, I take the lead for infection control because of my previous experience as well. Plus, I like to be quite particular that, we meet all the standards. And audit of care is very important. So for inadequate smears, all of us, ANPs or practice nurses who take smears, every 3 monthly, we do a target. So we need to know if we're getting a lot of inadequate smears. Inadequate means that the smears haven't been read properly. So that is not acceptable. And we have to see, maybe the patient was having a discharge, whether she was on a period and she had some blood, so those reasons. So we have to do our own audit of care. So that again informs our practice. So supervision and appraisal, I've already talked about the supervision. Now appraisal, if we are setting a program in India for advanced nurse practitioners, I would please request the organizers to have a proper appraisal program. So because what happened in UK, ANPs came into force because there was not enough doctors, and especially in general practice, there weren't enough doctors. So that's how the ANP started, the model. So we do not have a dedicated supervision mentorship model at the moment. I am campaigning for it along with other colleagues, and it's all about funding. Because to do a proper appraisal, people have to be paid for their time, and otherwise it's difficult. So at the moment, what happens is I'm appraised by a senior GP colleague. So I take my medical cases to him once a year, and we do a 360 degrees. So I ask patients to, I need five patients who what they think about my care. So feedback about my care. So and also for the administrative. So there can be problems with, I don't know how to use the computer properly, which often happens because we were not born with the computer. So for that, it's the admin person who will give me an appraisal, the practice manager. The practice manager might say, you've not been very good at recording all your consultations on time. You need to record your consultations on time. So that's so I do have an appraisal, but I would really like the appraisal to come from somebody from the NMC, somebody from my senior nursing colleague within the borough, but that is not happening at the moment. So that is something we are looking at. Our pay and conditions are quite enviable compared to the hospital counterparts. So advanced nurse practitioner and primary care, because of the high amount of responsibility, we do get paid reasonably well compared to our hospital counterparts. So the next few slides will be about talking about conditions in India. So I'm not here to say what should happen, but this is my own idea and from what I've heard. So especially in the rural and urban areas, and I would think it's great to have a nurse practitioner there. So if one PNC has got a population of 30,000 in India, so I don't see why in that group, you have a GP, no doubt, but you also have a nurse practitioner who is well versed in the local community, who knows what are the problems. If it's an urban slum area, for example, and she knows that immunizations is a big problem, that people aren't accessing care, or diabetes is 3 in 1 in India. It's endemic. It's not pandemic, it's endemic. So why not have a diabetes portfolio for this advanced nurse practitioner? Because for me, I can see there's a big gap in India between being in the hospital and being in the community. Once the patient is discharged, the next time he goes to see the consultant will be in the community. But between that time, there is no real care. And I've got family in India, so I do know what is happening. So why not have a nurse practitioner there working in a GP practice? If the GP will also be cooperative. A nurse practitioner can do all the routine diabetic check. She can do look at the medication. She can also look at other problems that diabetic patients face, like thrush on a day-to-day basis. They face thrush, they face rushes. They have a lot of other problems with medication. Metformin is not agreeing with them. So all those sort of things, the nurse practitioner can lead on that. Also, she can see general children coming into a GP practice. So in India, we have mere bachche ko cold hai, cough hai, that sort of thing. So why not nurse practitioner see that? So I feel there's a great potential. Cancer care, in cancer care, once the patient has his chemo or she has his chemo, what happens is the patient is left. So why not have an ALNP who is specialist in cancer care, but also who knows a lot about the other stuff. So when there is vomiting because of chemotherapy, what happens? So that sort of thing. What about COPD and asthma? A huge problem. It's a huge problem. A lot of allergies. So asthma is on the rise, as all over the world, even in India. So why not have an ALNP there, but who's also general? Because as Mr. Sajan said, an ALNP is not a specialist nurse. They are general nurses, but having a certain specialist field as well. Mental health, and I really want to talk a bit about mental health. And I feel in India, because I read and I have friends who are there, and I feel it's not just in India, mental health is an issue everywhere. With COVID, there's a huge issues about mental health. So why not have an advanced nurse practitioner who can actually, not always based in hospitals, but who can offer them support within the community? So follow even a telephone consultation. What's happening with you? How are you feeling today? What's happening with your depression medication? Are you taking your medication? Why aren't you taking your medication? Do you need a counselor? And she can be the link between the MenCap, the counselors, Samaritans, etc. So that's a really good field as well. So in conclusion, it is time to think collaterally and expand the nurse's role. Whether it's a polyclinic in India, there's a dedicated multi-skill team, and can we have a place for an ANP there? Yes, why not? Because ANPs would be BSc nurses anyway, and they would have full-fledged experience. So they've done the whole lot. They've done the maternity, they've done the psychiatry, they've done the surgery, everything. So why not then in their curriculum for their dissertation, they just home in on some subject that they themselves are interested in. You will have resistance, and we have resistance here as well. I'm not saying it's always hunky-dory. I will have some GPs who say, I don't agree with your care, and but I will have to have an explanation. So so once I have an explanation, once I have a scientific background to what I'm doing, once I know what I'm doing, then I can stand up to any kind of challenge. And these are my references, and these are only some of my references. I'm very, very happy to help out in the curriculum development. I'm very, very happy to help out in any way in India. And thank you again for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you all for such a wonderful forum and such interesting topics regarding indemnity. And I can talk a lot, but we don't have the time. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience?
I think it's their lunchtime. People are possibly hungry.
Ms. Lalita Iyer has given a vivid narration of the job roles and responsibilities, and what is the job roles and responsibilities in UK, and how enjoyably she is working there as a nurse practitioner. Actually, she has given a lot of information regarding the prescription, the assessment, the significance of communication, and the opportunities they have there to learn further. Everything she has explained. She was asking about about having primary care nurses and nurse practitioner in our community. I think we have to have some kind of policy development in this regard, and I hope that we will soon work towards such kind of policy development and implementing this kind of program. Most of our nurses, they are very happy to function as nurse practitioners, but the main problem is that continued education facility is not available. Once they complete an MSc nursing program or a critical care practitioner program, there is no further scope of study for them. Either they have to leave the work and they have to go for academic activities. So such kind of programs we have to implement in India also. Then only these nurses can side by side, they can learn and expand their knowledge. So we hope that nurses will be motivated from your talk, and they will take up responsibility, and even our authorities. I hope that Ms. Radhibala is there, and she, as well as Indian Nursing Council people, they can work towards these ventures, and they can create a lot of changes. I hope for the best, and thank you, Lalitha, for your very vivid presentation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for listening, everybody.
Shall we move to the next speaker? Next person, nurse practitioner, is from UK.
I request Preeti to please share the screen. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, next speaker is from UK. She is an advanced nurse practitioner. Her name is Rosalyn Mary, and she is working with NHS Trust. Her professional qualification include RN, BSc Intensive Care, MSc Advanced Practice, and Independent Prescriber. So the designations that differ from US and early different designation, of course, there are certain similarities. She's a very pleasant lady. From her picture, I am telling. Oh dear. Her professional experience, she has got 22 years of working experience as ICU nurse. She has progressed in her career from staff nurse to senior sister, and as an outreach specialist nurse, practice educator, and clinical matron in ICU. Since last 3 years, she had been working as advanced clinical practitioner along with medical colleagues, reviewing patients independently and creating treatment plan in emergency department. She is a registered independent nurse prescriber. She is highly driven in a clinical setting, passionate in education, and expect high standard of practice within the clinical area. That is the thing that she says about her. She is also an ALS instructor, actively involved in teaching and simulation training for nurses and medical colleagues in UK during UK. During her career, she had received many awards as best clinical nurse and received numerous nominations from her patients, relatives, and colleagues. That is really admirable. Currently, she is undertaking postgraduate certificate of medical education at Kelly University. Then about the highlights in her career, CQC rated intensive care from requires improvement. I couldn't understand what is written there. Then she is an ALS instructor for senior nurses and doctors. She is an independent prescriber and work as an ANP in the ED department. She is also working on credentialing with RCEM as registered advanced clinical practitioner. Regarding her achievement and honor, she got Best Nurse for Clinical Support and Teamwork in 2019, awarded patients first gold bag at St. Helier Hospital, and she got special appreciation from CQC inspectors for outstanding leadership within the critical care area. These are some of the honor and achievements she had. I invite the pleasant lady, Ms. Rosalyn Mady, for her lived experience presentation. Warm welcome to you.
Thank you, ma'am. And oh my gosh, I'm trying to share my screen. Can people see my screen?
No.
We can share, see your screen, but not the slide you are wishing to share. Maybe you can just stop sharing right now and open the slide first, and then click on the start sharing option again. Yes, ma'am. Now we can see it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And slideshow. Is it better? When it loads.
Can't see.
Yeah, now it's
there it comes. Thank you very much. Greetings to everyone. I know it is in India, it is an afternoon. We are in the morning in UK, and so greetings to everyone, whichever the climate or the day of the we are in, whichever the day we are in. And I just would like to take the opportunity to thank the senior delegates and panelists and organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my living experience as an ACP in this emergency department. And I have mentioned it as an ACP, just would like to clarify all throughout my slide, I'll be mentioning it as an ACP, which stands for Advanced Clinical Practitioner. Though my background is nursing, but Health Education England have highlighted as a global terminology as an ACP. The main objective on this session is just would like to discuss what is an ACP, what is an ACP curriculum in UK, how a prescriber role is essential in ACP, what are the 4 pillars in ACP and how did these pillars apply to my clinical practice, and also what are the expectations of an ACP from Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and how does the credentialing process work with Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and what are the advantages and what are the challenges I faced as an ACP. It is not easy, right? It had all its ups and downs. It's, as Lalita highlighted, it is all not all rosy. Just to give a bit of a background, I had a very simple upbringing. I come from Madurai, which is a suburb of Coimbatore, and I studied in a ACC school. Every day I passed through this factory to my primary school, and I used to think, I need to achieve one day as high as this building. But I didn't know what I was going to do at that stage in primary school. But luckily I managed to get into nursing profession, which for 1 second, I don't repent. Should I be reborn again, as Ma'am Sridevi highlighted, again, I would like to be a nurse. That's how I look at myself. And I went on to do my nursing course at St. Philomena School of Nursing in Bangalore, which I'm really, really proud of. As Lalita again highlighted, Indian nursing career, or the course, the curriculum, what is covered as a basic nurse, still stays with me. And I'm proud to be an Indian nurse to say. And as I've highlighted, a sheer determination and self-discipline gets you through the right path. And during my career, I had excellent role models. Senior colleagues motivated me highly, and I had a very clear future vision, and I was able to be organized to achieve this. And I'm still reaching to it, but I am not very far from what I want to be. So what is an ACP? ACP is an experienced healthcare professional who are state registered. As I said, it is not just nurses, it can be physiotherapists, paramedics, dietitian, pharmacists, any specialist person from a different healthcare personnels. And they undergo clinical and academic training. During this period, they have a rotational program, just like doctors, where coming from an emergency background now, we have a rotation between acute medicine, intensive care, or anesthetics to have anesthetic skills. So during all through these rotations, we accumulate skills and knowledge along the way. And eventually having completed as a registered ACP with Royal College of Emergency Medicine, we would be able to work as equal to a middle grade medical colleague in emergency department. As Health Education England in 2020 defines, advanced nurse practitioners are healthcare professionals educated at master's level or equivalent clinical skills, which allow them to expand their role and scope of practice. Again, Mr. Sarjan highlighted yesterday, again, repeatedly, Lalita highlighted, ACPs are not specialist nurses. Specialist nurses can be a diabetic specialist nurse, stroke nurse, and palliative care nurse, and so forth. But advanced nurse practitioners or advanced clinical practitioners are qualified at master's level and able to have critical analysis of the clinical situation and make an independent decision. It's not that solely responsibility on you. You could discuss the case with others if it was a challenging and it is out of your comfort zone, or if it is above your skill. But by all means, as an ACP, you would be making some independent decisions depending upon your clinical assessment. Just to give you a brief information about epidemiology, where again, Mr. Sarjan already highlighted, nurse practitioner role was introduced in UK in 1993. Nurse consultants came in 2000. However, there were no definite pathway or a defined curriculum for this ACP. However, Royal College of Emergency Medicine was one of the initial board who constructed this recognized curriculum, and again, it got updated in 2019. Initially, when this program came, only 2 nurses and 1 paramedic for the whole country in 2016 got successfully credentialed. So what I'm trying to say here is the program is very robust, has got a very clear structure, and has got a clear pathway how you have to credential through and how you would be able to get this ACP role recognized, and how this workforce can be part of a multi-professional team. It can be highlighted. And I would like to share my curriculum pathway so it can give candidates a bit of an example to look into. So I finished my MSc at University of Surrey in 2014. Obviously, at that stage, there was recently Health Education England have produced a document, and also Royal College of Emergency Medicine expects specific modules as part of ACP pathway. But by God's grace, I had it already, these modules in my MSc pathway. So you have 60 credits to come out as a PG cert. The further 60 credits, you could come out as postgraduate diploma. Then you finally complete your dissertation to exit with master's program. However, there are certain modules are compulsory modules where Royal College of Emergency Medicine expects advanced assessment, history taking, leadership, and research. These 4 elements are essential in your curriculum when you do MSc program. And also, independent prescribing is expected at level 6 or level 7, level 7 being at master's level, should have completed. Now, when I was doing this master's program, I took supporting education and practice and leadership as my optional module, where I could have taken independent prescribing as an optional module. However, advanced assessment, clinical decision-making, and history taking are very, very essential to perform effectively on this at this level. One other thing I want to highlight, not anyone and everyone could go into master's program. There are prerequisites, not a BSc student who finished BSc and straight away jumping into master's. There are some prerequisites where you have to have certain years of clinical experience, maybe a specialist course you would have completed. I know when I was a student nurse in St. Philomena's, my tutors, they used to undertake master's program in medical nursing, masters in surgical nursing, on mental health. So they were very specific on a topic. Here also you could do masters in palliative care, masters in community nursing. As Lalita has mentioned, she had taken in community nursing. So there are some common modules where you do it together, but there are specific modules you will do it in your stream. That's what I want to highlight. Prescribing. Prescribing is a very essential role in ACP. Nursing and Midwifery Council has approved universities to have this prescribing course. Initially, when it started in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, it used to be only 3 months program, but eventually it got more robust, and it is anything between 9 to 12-month program. It depends upon what university we are in. And it can be part of an MSc program, or it can be a standalone module. But as a prescriber, we got to have in my trust as a hospital. In UK, we mention trusts as NHS. Trust means NHS hospital. And Lalita is coming from a primary care. I am in a secondary care. So I am in the hospital setting, where in my hospital, we have to have an annual declaration as well as a peer review. So one prescriber will audit and other non-medical prescribers' practice and give an honest feedback where we are really good at, where our practice have to be improved on. And this has to be done every year. And this is being registered in a database centrally by lead non-medical prescriber. And also, Nursing and Midwifery Council, we will be doing a revalidation every 4 years as a registered nurse in this country. And as part of revalidation, we will be doing 5 reflections. And as a prescriber, a good prescriber would have 1 reflection on her or his prescribing practice. That's how I look at it. And also Royal Pharmaceutical Society has introduced a competency for all prescribers. So for example, for any reason you had, say as a woman, you would have gone on a maternity leave, would have come back after a year, coming back into prescribing. Maybe you may not be that confident on prescribing. Maybe then you could consider doing this competency framework to get you back to your practice up to the standard. And it is not compulsory. However, it is all about being conscious and how safe prescriber you are. That's how you are. It is all about self-analyzing and moving forward. Recently in 2019, a competency framework had been introduced for designated prescribing practitioners. So ideally, as again, Mr. Sarjan and Lalita highlighted from UK, clinical supervision is very, very essential. I cannot highlight it high enough. And for non-medical prescribing course, when you do, you have a designated medical practitioner. So it will be a senior registrar or a consultant. When I did my prescribing course in intensive care, ICU consultant was my DMP. But recently in 2019, a document introduced where a senior prescriber with a minimum experience of 3 years can be a designated prescriber, where you would be able to oversee what is a trainee non-medical prescriber. Again, it's been highlighted repeatedly, but as an ACP, when you work in UK, you adhere to these 4 pillars, which has been created by Health Education England. And I will go back on this slide reflecting on my practice. So what are the advantages of an ACP role? I tell you, being an ACP, we have significantly increased the patient's quality, the quality of service in patient care. patient satisfaction. A holistic approach gives a huge patient satisfaction and also decrease the waiting time in ED, as Mr. Sargent highlighted. And also it gives a clinical career pathway, as the previous speaker, the panel member highlighted, where once in India, the nurses finish BSc and master's program, they are a bit stuck because there is no clinical pathway. But I think so going into the nurse practitioner pathway in India, where we could be able to set up a curriculum where you would be able to progress in your clinical career. Traditionally, a nurse will become a senior nurse, team leader, possibly a matron for a clinical area, and you will become a divisional nurse and a chief nurse. That is a traditional way a career progression happened in nursing. However, in clinical, where you would be able to do your master's program or even going into a doctorate program and able to complete a credentialing and get recognized by a reputed board, and you would be able to progress into a ACP and a nurse consultant in clinical practice. I have a video link, but already we are running late, so I'm not playing the video, but please do watch the video at your own time, please. So I would like to focus on role of an ACP in emergency department. Royal College of Nursing, Royal College of Emergency Medicine actually created what is in 2016 actually, an ACP pathway curriculum. It is a well-established board, so as Faculty of Intensive Care Medicine has got a very established curriculum pathway. All these curriculum pathways you would be able to find in Health Education England website. And I will highlight how the credentialing process work and how the competencies are quite similar to medical trainees. So it is nothing less about a nurse. We are very equally expected to present the cases along with medical colleagues. My supervisor expects me to present the case, and who is an ED consultant. And in fact, he will ask the junior doctors to come and observe me, how I present the case and how I discuss the case and how I created my treatment plan. And many times this has happened. And I would like to show you my curriculum and e-portfolio that will give you a bit of understanding what I mean. And again, there are references where you would be able to access this. So what are the benefits of credentialing? I don't want to delay, so I'm just putting all the points together here. So so the ACP is actually, this credentialing process is actually a recognized national curriculum where, though I work in south of England, I would be able to go up to north in Manchester, and I would be able to work as an ACP, having completed this credentialing process, where it is a governance is fully established, where your cases are presented to a consultant as structured feedback you will receive and you will improve on. These are all done by work placement-based assessments as CBDs, mini-KECs, ACAT ED, or reflections, teaching, and audits, and so forth. And also, you will be a competent ACP with a defined scope of practice. And ACP will be working in a very rich learning environment. And a credentialed ACP can be a great strength to the emergency department in terms of providing a learning environment. I would like to share my curriculum with you. So this is me inside RChem, and where I had been expected to complete 6 main topics, but I tell you, each topic has got many, many subheadings. Common competencies, I think so there are 25 common competencies, 20 procedural competencies, and ACP 1 and 2 is your ACP year 1 and 2, ACP 3 year is the 3rd year of ACP, and also some in airway management skills and optional anesthetic competencies are there. In acute ACP 1 and 2, you have under presentations, you have acute presentations and major presentation. Major presentations are 6, acute presentations are 38. And each clinical presentation have to have at least minimum 7 evidences. So I'm just sharing one of acute presentation screenshot. So I have an abdominal pain with loin pain or abdominal swelling, acute back pain, aggressive behavior, breathlessness, and so forth. So each of this topic, you could see I've got a mini kex and CBD. Like that, you have to have about 7 elements to evidence that I have managed patients with abdominal pain. I just would like to share one of the case study on that. And each case can be linked to 2 elements. Say, for example, this case study is about chest pain. And also I use this, I think so, as a link to the initial assessment of an acute unwell patient. So this is a 72-year-old lady presented to ED with a chest pain on and off, lasted about 7 to 10 minutes, had a cold, clammy skin at the time of chest pain, and also she had palpitation. LAS, London Ambulance Services, LAS had given GTN spray 40 micrograms, sublingual, and also aspirin 300 milligrams. This was a priority call coming to ED resus for me, and I was expected to see a resus patient on my own, where I need to assess this patient and create a treatment plan. Patient has got a past medical history of hypertension, type 2 diabetic, osteoarthritis, high BMI, currently self-isolating due to COVID. This is one of my recent case. On assessment, patient was able to talk to me, so the airway is patent. Breathing respiratory rate of 18, saturating 100% on oxygen, 15 liters via non-rebreathe mask. No use of accessory muscles. Patient is able to speak in full sentences. On clinical examination, noted to have a minimal crepitations on the right base, but there is no reproducible tenderness on palpation. Cardiovascularly, patient was in sinus tachy, heart rate, blood pressure, capillary refill time is less than 3 seconds, had already an IV access. We established one other IV access and taken a routine blood samples, including troponin. VBG done initially, 12 lead ECG shown no ST changes. Patient was alert, blood sugar was 8.4 millimoles per liter, pupils were equal and reacted to light. On exposure, there were no rashes, external bleed, or injuries. She had a painful shin on the leg, but she is known to have osteoarthritis, had tender joints. However, there is no ankle edema. My differential diagnosis initially was acute coronary syndrome. Possibly patient could have had a PE or community-acquired pneumonia. Initially, I want to chase the blood results. I would like the ECG being repeated in 30 minutes. I requested for a chest X-ray, and also I prescribed morphine. However, patient was not in pain. I prescribed it as a PRN. When the patient requires, the nurses could administer that. And I asked them to titrate the oxygen therapy to target the saturation between 94 to 98, because this was a peak COVID. Generally in our hospital, we were running short of oxygen on that day as well, because there were many patients were on CPAP, Optiflow, ventilator. So we have to stick to the BTS guidelines. And in fact, oxygen requirements were titrated very strictly those periods. And on further clinical review, patient remained in sinus tachy. However, the initial troponin was 268. The chest X-ray had no evidence of any pulmonary infiltrations to suggest the patient was having community-acquired pneumonia. And inflammatory markers were normal. Able to wean the oxygen down to 2 liters via nasal cannula. Considering the troponin, I went into ACS route and I had given ticagrelor and fondaparinux and continued cardiac monitoring. And I know this patient is not safe to be discharged back to the community. So patient was admitted to CCU. I referred the patient to medical colleagues. So as an ACP, I would directly liaise with the other specialty registrars or consultants, no problem. And I resend the troponin because, again, due to COVID, the hospital beds were really tight. So there was a delay in sending patient from resus to CCU. But luckily I managed to get the cardiology registrar come to review the patient in ED itself. So you could see as an ACP what is expected of me. And as an ACP, you got to stand up with your clinical standards and have the clinical knowledge, what you studied in your School of Nursing, and able to present the case as doctors, and we would be able to stand equal to them and put a stamp as a nurse, as an ACP. That's what I'm trying to say here. So again, as I mentioned earlier regarding how my vision as an ACP in ED, I have applied my 4 ACP pillars and reflected myself. In clinical practice, I'm nearly completing my first year credentialing process. From a nurse being just taking a blood sample, I would be able to do a fascial block, nerve block, communicating bad news, or I'm able to lead an emergency team in cardiac arrest. As an ALS instructor, I used to teach medical colleagues about how to manage a cardiac arrest. So in clinical practice, I manage the cardiac arrest independently in research along with a multidisciplinary team, being a team leader. However, I facilitate training. As an ALS instructor, I do teaching. I present clinical cases in the front line, case discussions, bedside teaching. I supervise trainee ACPs and trainee non-medical prescribers through consultation and clinical procedures. And I work very closely with practice educators in ED. How is a leadership role comes in this? As a matron being in intensive care, yes, the initial introducing person was highlighting regarding requiring CQC is a Care Quality Commission, visit all the NHS hospitals throughout the England once in 3 years, once in 4 years to assess the quality of care delivered in intensive, not in intensive care, everywhere throughout different departments. When I went to take up my matron role in intensive care, ICU was requiring improvement. In 2 years, we changed that ICU into an outstanding intensive care where CQC recognized the change and awarded or appreciated the leadership. So you could see, I thoroughly enjoyed my leadership role. However, I really, really missed my clinical frontline care, what I want to provide for my patients. As I said, I am highly clinically driven, so that's where it comes from. So managerial skills, leadership skills are quite transferable skills, but managing a group of staff. I knew every member of staff in frontline by their first name. And I work every single day in frontline. Though I was a matron in intensive care, I worked in clinical once a week, having my own patients in ICU. And I deal with complaints and serious incidences. Here in ED, in this trust, I am actually a member of a non-medical prescribing committee in the trust, and also I'm in the trust ACP leadership forum team as an educator and a clinical supervisor. How am I achieving my evidence research and development to maintain my ACP? I read research papers. Thank you, ma'am Sridevi, sharing some research papers recently, and implement quality improvement projects. Recently, I had done a medicine management within ED, and I'm going to do an audit on educational audit of ACP within ED. And also I'm getting involved with research within emergency department. We are going to start on crash force study. All this career journey is not without a challenge, I have to admit, starting from accessing continuous education. As I mentioned, I'm from a suburb called Madhukara in Coimbatore. In my family, I was the first nurse to come into this profession. And I didn't know, or my family didn't know, there was a BSc nursing, diploma in nursing, nothing at all. All I knew is just nursing. And they joined me to this nursing qualification. Then only I realized when I was studying for nursing, oh, there is a BSc nursing and MSc nursing. So once I finished my nursing, I went and worked in Manipal Hospital in Bangalore, and I was doing my post-BSc nursing in Indira Gandhi Open University as a distance learning, because I couldn't afford to be on full-time education at that time. And But I had to give up my studies because I had an opportunity to come to UK, because that is something I always want to do. It. Coming to UK, I started my BSc nursing again in Manchester University. Family relocation, I moved down to south of England. Again, University of Surrey didn't accept Manchester University credits, but I have to restart all over again. But I have to tell you, my husband had been a real backbone throughout my career journey. And without him, I would have not achieved what I had achieved today. And also by God's grace, I have to admit. And so that is one example of a challenge. But think about lack of agreed role definition. Until recently done by Health Education England and Health Education England, there was no clear definition and curriculum criteria what an ACP is expected of. And there was a lack of standardized regulations and governance, but now Center for Advanced Clinical Practice has been introduced, and they are really coming into a clear pathway and examining and clear governance is in place. Salary disparity, yes, ACPs are working in different level as here in England, we have banding system, band 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, in 8 A, B, C, D we have. So ACP is anywhere between band 7 to 8C. So there is a huge disparity that is not helping the situation. And also local policies, there is a lack of scope of practice within the trust creates a huge frustration for ACPs. So in summary, we discussed about what is ACP in UK and also what are the set criteria and academic expectations from Health Education England and how I have achieved that, how important and prescribe a role in ACP, and what is an expectations from an NHS trust as an ACP. And also I have shared my portfolio so the candidates or others can have a bit of an flavor or see what it entails and what are the challenges I face. And I'm sure in India, we will be having these challenges to start with, and we are in the early stage, and I'm more than happy to offer my help as I have gone through these struggles through my career. I just would like to show my references. It's all there if anyone wants to link into, and I've got the last link as a video where you could see the advanced practice role, how it helps in healthcare settings. I just want to finish with a quote that, as previous speakers have mentioned, you, me, and we, and many quotations were there, but as I said, where there is a will, there is a way. If you have that sheer determination, you're not alone, trusting in yourself, and by grace of God, you can achieve where you want to achieve. If I can achieve, you can achieve it too. That's me. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very open to any questions.
Rosalind, there are 2 questions on the question answer session. Please answer them, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. In your
Thank you,
question answer.
Sridevi ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Most welcome. I'm so amazed. I just took that 1 minute gap because I'm in a big hurry. Thanks. I love you.
Thank you very much. I think so. I had done this only through me introducing to this amazing experienced panelists. I cannot tell you how important it is. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's okay. That's fine. But you did it well as important.
Thank you.
You can look at the Q&A box.
Yes, I am answering the questions.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, do you want me to talk through? That's fine. I have looked at one of the question is, could they be able to have references? I have included my references in the slides. Will they not be able to access those?
No, either you have to share those slides to them, or you can give the links in the chat box.
I can give the links in the chat box. Yes, that's fine. I do that. And I have an MSc degree, med-surg cardiothoracic nursing. Yes, in India, we have, this is where nursing, you have what is called a medical nursing, surgical nursing. So we need to look at the curriculum pathway. This ACP pathway is very much clinically orientated. And yes, education is there, research is there. These all are pillars of ACP, but your curriculum should have what is called advanced assessment, consultation, history taking, and leadership and decision making. These are the essential modules for ACP. So you don't have it as an MSc degree in med-surg or cardiothoracic nursing. You can have a specialist nursing as an optional module in your MSc pathway, but your core modules to be an ACP is your what is called these 4 items as history taking, physical assessment, prescribing, leadership, and decision making. I don't know whether I repeated myself again. Apologies. One other Q&A question is, what are the salary in ACP? It varies. Obviously, in UK, we are paid in pounds. And it is not standardized throughout England. As I said, the banding varies anything between band 7 to band 8C. So anything between £35,000 per annum to say £60,000 per annum. I don't know what is a band 8C salary, I have to say, because I am not paid at that level. I am an 8A, so I don't know what is an 8C salary. Maybe Mr. Sargent would be able to share that. Let me look at the chat box, would be able to say any questions. I don't know how I could go. Okay, one question is, what is the difference between nurse specialist and ACP? Nurse specialists are nurses, either they would have done olden days. Oh, I cannot say olden days, even me who completed only diploma in nursing to start with. So earlier days, there was diploma in nursing in UK as well, where the nurses would have had a plenty of experience as a senior nurse working. So they may not have gone back to do the BSc honors in nursing, but the amount of years of clinical experience where they have worked in a very specialist area. For example, respiratory nurse. Respiratory specialist nurse would have worked in a respiratory ward, managed patients with non-invasive ventilations, or caring for tracheostomy patients and so forth. So these respiratory nurses are specialist nurses who may not, they are not required to have a master's qualification. However, as an ACP, an advanced nurse practitioner, you are expected to have your knowledge at level 7 or a master's level, where you're able to have a global understanding and you're able to work autonomously and able to create a treatment plan independently. Don't get me wrong, specialist nurses also do that. However, advanced practice nurses are in a much different level.
I think there are no more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roslyn, for the wonderful presentation, wonderful and clear presentation. You have narrated very well your experiences. And I thank you on behalf of all participants here. So,
thank you very much, ma'am.
Now, to the participants, now we heard about the views and experiences of nurse practitioners from UK and US regarding the independent and collaborative practices. Now, all of you know that in India, we launched 2 nurse practitioner program. One is the NPM program and another one is the NPCC program. Now we are in the budding position. Lot more have to be done to bloom and flourish in the right direction. And we have to bring visibility also. The scope, rules and regulations to be developed to shape the role of nurse practitioners in India. The informations received from the presentation will help us to shape our program who has attended this program. Now, what are the steps? The first step, I believe, nurse practitioner bill has to be brought out, and Indian Nursing Council is working for that. And the nurse practitioner program has to be legalized, and there should be cadre development, job description. We have to have recruitment rules. Selection process should be initiated. So many things we have to bring out. Creation of job opportunities. We have to have licensing exam. A Nurse Practice Act I have already mentioned. So many activities we have to develop before its proper implementation. I hope that the organizers of this program will take a lead in initiating all these activities. I'm sure that Dr. Reddy Bala, the ADG nursing, is working on this, and she is very fond of, or she is very much interested in implementing the nurse practitioner program. We all are there behind you to help develop this program and implement it successfully in India also, because it is the dream of most of the nurses working in India. And another request is that the organizers should bring all these eminent faculty, and we have to give some kind of training for those who are interested to learn while working. So the main problem of our nurses are that we are not, the main thing is that we are not getting adequate salary. Most of the private institution and in the government institution, they are not, nurses are not getting good salary. So they will never leave the job and go for such kind of education. So we should make some kind of provision for the nurses to learn, and these experts can give some kind of training. If DY Patil institution or Dr. Reddy Bala, if they can take initiative, surely we will be able to provide some kind of online education for the nurses. And I think you can collect interest from the nurses who have attended the program, and please arrange some kind of training so that we will be able to achieve to a certain extent. We have to develop our competencies of nurses and interest of our nurses. So please do something. And with this few words, I am winding up. Thank you all for providing such a platform to interact with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, and Oscar also, Rosaline and Lalitha. As you all know that NNMC bill is under consideration, where the regulations has to come out with the scope of practice, and we need all the experts to come out with the suggestions which we can include in the regulations. So such type of deliberations to be continued and come out with the very clear-cut scope of practice to be regulated and licensed, and credential examinations. All these things can be included in the NNMC.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having such a wonderful session.
Thank you very much for inviting us, and whatever help we can give, we are here. And we could look at pay scales, and it's just a matter of, it'll take time, but I'm sure with all the training that we have in India, we'll get, actually we need it. We need it.
As mentioned for the diabetic, mental health, primary care, emergency, these are all under the priority of government to start with. And for each thing, we are also looking into have collaboration with various universities where it is already there for at least internship or 6 weeks of training, something with the project in collaboration with the international universities. So we will be disturbing you continuously, and we are sure that your commitment and dedication has shown that how much you are interested to develop nurse practitioner in India also. Thank you very much for your
you're not
support.
disturbing us at all. We are actually, I'm in awe of you, because you are, all you highly qualified, and you all are spending your valuable time, and you all have so much of drive and vision, which is really inspiring to me. Thank you. Anytime, no problem.
As Lalita mentioned, anything I could offer in terms of standard of practice or creating curriculum or supporting in any way remotely, I am more than happy to support. And as I mentioned, nurses are nothing less to doctor. And as long as we have the knowledge and skills, we would be able to stand up equally to them. We all are health professionals and we all are equal. And we should be able to do it, but it is just needed the right ground and right scope of practice in place, and good legal support as well. And we can be there equally with them.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you all the participants for joining us. Thank you, Madam Roslyn, Madam Lalita, and Madam Prasanna for wonderful deliberation. And this would really bring a good outcome soon, we hope, from the government of India as well. And it's a request to all the speakers, those are available here, can you please switch on your video? We can take a snapshot.
Oh,
okay.
I don't know what to have.
That's fine, Ajay, you can sit.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So the tomorrow's session is an announcement. Our scientific session number 5, it will start at sharp 9 a.m. Tomorrow is our last day, so we expect all the participants will join tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris, for your emails and keeping us in the loop and making sure we've got the links. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's from me too, Chris. You're
Thank
doing an
you,
amazing job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just keep it up. You are doing great. That's absolute. Thank you very much for your support too. Without coordinating all this, it would have not been a successful
It's a group work, ma'am.
conference.
It's a group work, ma'am. So it's
Yeah.
effort of everyone. Yeah. Thank you.
But you
Thank you,
also
ma'am.
played a very important role. Thank you, Chris. Bye. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Echo India also. Thank you,
And we
Preeti.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
again at 8 a.m. for presentations and at 9 p.m. for the scientific session.
No, tomorrow we'll have only 9 a.m. actually. 9 a.m.
We
will
will see
start.
you tomorrow
Yeah.
at 9 a.m.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.